today be the change that you crave. Facts still matter. It starts with you. Facts still matter. It starts with you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy March. Happy Women's History Month. We'll be spending a lot of time, in fact, every day this month, we'll be highlighting a woman because I want a matriarchy. We'll get into that in a little bit. But thank you for being here. We know you've got many, many choices to make every single day, and we're always super grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. So thank you for being here. You know the drill. Today's going to be one of those days going to need your help to stay out of the FYP. Tapping is clapping. Liking is loving, and sharing is caring. You'll notice we made a big jump last week on our goal towards 25K to support the Do Something Tour. If you have the means, we would love that. The $1 a day has already been started. If you'd like to contribute, you can do so at Factsstillmatter, the blue app, the green app, and the other blue app. Also, there's a gifting goal today that helps us get and stay on the FYP. Please consider supporting us there if you can. Really appreciate that. I want to remind folks that if you haven't yet joined our Discord, please consider doing that. You'll find the link to that in the link tree that's in my bio. And while you're over there, if for some reason it doesn't work, you can always either reach out to a moderator or just copy the URL, paste it into a browser, and that will open automatically. There's also some amazing merch items in the merch store. You can find that at Facts HQ or directly at factsstillmatter.site. We appreciate you guys for being here. Lot to cover today. Well, actually, just a little reminder, just a programming note. We'll be going to the No Kings rally in at the end of this month in NYC. There's a whole bunch of creators going down. We're really looking forward to it to raise up some voices and to call attention to what it is that we're witnessing, because this is just not okay, is the ultimate understatement. So I've been thinking about this for hours, how to approach this today. I want to say this very clearly, and I'll probably reiterate this over the course of the day. When we talk about the events over the last 48, 72 hours, when we talk about the countries involved, we are speaking specifically about the governments, not the citizens of Iran, not the citizens of the I country, not the citizens of the UAE or Dubai or the Emirati nations or Lebanon or even here. Because what my fear is the anti-Semitism will crank up, especially against American Jews. I think it's incredibly important that we be responsible in the language that we use. So when we reference things today over the course of the show, we'll be speaking of this in terms of our statements are directed towards the weapons of mass distraction in particular. I want people to really, really, really understand that. And I would ask that we just be mindful of that, because my concern is what we always see. When things like this happen, people target individuals that they think are responsible. Innocent loss of life is just that, innocent loss of life. And it is unacceptable under any conditions, especially in this case, what we're seeing and why we're seeing it. I do believe it is a massive distraction. I do believe it's an attempt to avert the eyes from a global predatory network. I do believe that war crimes are being committed, and two of the biggest perpetrators are behind me. So please keep that in mind today as we have these conversations over the course of this morning. We do have so much to cover. I want to make sure that we're connecting the dots a little bit, because I don't think many people know the history of the relationship between the U.S. and Iran, and also Iran and the I country in particular. I have to be very careful with language just because we know the sensitivity about certain things. So the relationships go back, a long time, and at one point in both cases, the relationships were quite good. I guess just to start, one of the things that we were told going into this, actually, you know what? Before I do that, I want to do this now, because I think these are the things that we can't ignore. It is Women's History Month. And like I said, I want to use every show that we do this month, we will highlight a woman of history, whether known or unknown. So I've been kind of researching some names that we may not know, who, of course, because of the patriarchy, their names were perhaps tried to have been erased from history. So I'm going to introduce you to Sybil Ludington. It's Ludington. It's Sybil Ludington, born April 5th, 1761, and then died February the 26th, 1839, was an alleged, I say alleged because her name was, they tried to erase her name from history. And you'll understand why when I tell you this story. She was an alleged heroine of the American Revolution and daughter of Patriot Colonel Henry Ludington. Relatives of Ludington have claimed that on April the 26th, 1777, at age 16, she made an all-night horseback ride of 40 miles to stir American militiamen to attack British forces near Danbury, Connecticut. Though scholars reject this story, according to the legend, Ludington rode near the Connecticut-New York border after British forces raided and burned Danbury, rallying combatants for the Battle of Ridgefield the following day. The legend and published accounts appeared only in the late 19th century, with Ludington often now described as a female Paul Revere. Gee, I wonder why they wanted to erase her name from history. Printed accounts of Ludington's ride first appear in an 1880 local history and then in a 1907 posthumous publication of her father's memoirs. A 2015 report in the New England Quarterly concludes there is some but little actual evidence backing the story, and whether the ride even occurred has been questioned since at least 1956. Relatively unknown through the 19th century, Ludington's story gained recognition around the time of World War II after New York State was convinced to place historic road markers in locations she was speculated to have visited on her supposed ride. Attention to her story grew thereafter, from memorial statues honoring her to books being written about her, culminating with being honored on a United States bicentennial postage stamp that was released on March 25th, 1975, which depicts her on a horse. Sybil Ludington, an American heroine whose name is in a constant attempt to erase her name from history, but we won't let it. Read about her. It's really, really cool. So every day this month, we will honor a woman of history because I want the matriarchy, period. All right. Okay. I guess the easiest way to approach this is to kind of bring everybody up to speed. I'm not even sure where to start. I guess the first place to start is we now have confirmation that 5 service members have lost their lives. We just saw that post. Thank you, mods, for bringing us up to date. And this is going to be changing over the course of the morning, I'm sure. Things have escalated beyond the borders of Iran. The entire Middle East is on fire. I did do that for Black History Month, girl, actually, quite a bit. But anyway, sorry. Okay. Anyway, the world is on fire. And I think that the first place that we need to start is just a reminder, right? It's just a reminder of what got us here in the first place is some of the rhetoric from the mouth of the president, because of course we were told that he was the no new wars candidate. And I've already watched over the weekend about people saying that we aren't in war, right? That this isn't a war. Well, it is. Okay, it is a war. And you don't have to believe me. You can just take the president's word for it. I mean, why would the president then admit to the fact that it is actually a war? I have the sound from that just to clarify. Here we go.
You at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news.
Hang on one second. I want to play you a different one first because
we grieve for
it kind of leads up to
lost, and we may have casualties.
Here we go. This is the first statement that he made when he's down in Mar-a-Lago.
American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war.
Okay.
But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future. And
okay, so let's just level set right there. So we can move past that conversation, correct? We can move past that conversation because anybody that's still out there trying to defend it, trying to say that we're not at war, right? That we're not at war. We are. You don't have to believe me. You can just believe the words of the President of the United States. And for MAGA in the back, just to be clear,
heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran.
So as a reminder, back over the spring, Operation Midnight Hammer from last year, right, obliterated the entire Iranian nuclear capabilities, as we were told. So there's one lie. So we are at war with Iran and now other countries. Because the question I would ask, right, our friends on the right, if someone, I don't know, kidnapped our president, a boy can dream, or launched missiles into some of our cities, what would you describe that as? Okay, just want to make sure we clarified. And I just want to follow that up with this was a statement that he made yesterday, and we have since updated the death toll.
This time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case.
That's the way.
But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. These actions are right, and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah.
Okay, that's enough. By the way, Mike, I saw you in here, friend. Thanks for coming back. You should check your DMs. I sent you a message as I told you I would, so thanks for coming here. Anyway, so we can lay that to rest, MAGA's hypocrisy, right? You can no longer skate by trying to say that this is not a war. You've been lied to again. We're going to cover the fact. We're going to cover the amount of deaths. I think the death toll is pushing 600 now, including 180 people, including hundreds of girls, because a girls' school was struck. So don't tell me it's collateral damage. If you can send a laser-guided munition down the chimney of the Ayatollah's house and take him out, then I'm sure you can avoid hitting a school. It's a bloodline issue for me. To me, you not only want to take out the regime, you want to take out anybody who might be connected to the regime. Girls become women, women become wives, wives become mothers, etc., 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 etc. And I don't know, well, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't claim you have the world's greatest intelligence service and say that you are proficient in targeting those that should be targeted. Caribbean boats, for example. And you can send a munition. Don't forget, the United States, and isn't real, have the most sophisticated militaries on earth, arguably. Don't forget, theirs is funded by your taxpayer dollars. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. By the way, it's $1 billion a day this is costing us. So again, our two militaries have the most sophisticated weaponry in the world. In the world, laser guided. You can take out the Ayatollah, supposedly. But it's just an accident that a school was destroyed? just an accident. That's just part of war. Again, I want to be very, very, very clear. When we speak of this, we are speaking in terms of the governments involved, the warmongers. The Ayatollah was a monster, an absolute horrendous person. This is about them and not the innocent civilians of Iran and Israel and Lebanon and innocent civilians and citizens in that entire region, including, and then American Jews are going to be under threat as well because of this. We have to be better, friends. We have to be better. We have no choice. We have to be better because they won't be. So the people that already have hate in their heart towards marginalized communities will just ramp this up. So please, please, please allow cooler heads to prevail. Please. I know a lot of people are going to want to talk today, and I'll try to bring up as many folks as possible. We have a lot to cover. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, Facts. Me and you have been long. Associates online. And I used to come up all the time, especially back about 6 years ago or something like that. Anyways, I was just, listen, just because an evil bad man like Trump should be in jail, truthfully, and I'm never going to support him. I'll never say he's a good man ever. But I will support him when it comes to Israel. I will support him when it comes to Iran. And I've supported Joe Biden as well. I will say that.
What do you mean? What do you mean you'll support him when it comes to Israel? When it comes to Iran?
Israel is a beacon of light in a sea of Islamic darkness. It's a refuge for women, gays. It's a refuge for other religious minorities seeking refuge from Islam.
Okay. Not today. Not today. You requested to come up to talk about that, bro? We're literally just talking about innocent lives. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Okay. So, Jesus. So let's just address some of the rhetoric that we're going to hear first, because I think it's incredibly important that we get through this, and then we're going to talk about the things that matter the most. I do want to remind people of the reality of the rhetoric that has put us in this position to begin with. And I want you to pay particular close attention to some of the things that have been said by some of the people in the past. So the president, this is the president on the this is a series of tweets that I found. November the 29th, 2011. This is from the president. In order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran. On January the 17th, 2012, this is from Trump's tweets on X. Barack Obama will attack Iran in order to get reelected. On September the 16th, 2013, Donald Trump posts, I predict that President Obama will at some point attack Iran in order to save face. On November the 10th, 2013, remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly. Not skilled. Nice. You're kidding me, anti-MAGA, anti-leftist. After your bullshit take? Are you kidding me? You chose your bullshit today? Really? Cool. All right. So let's this is Tulsi Gabbard. Actually, let me play the president's sound first, because this is, again, another take. This is from 2011, before he was a presidential candidate. Hold on.
Will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran.
So there you go. So here it is again.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran.
Cool. Great. So this is Tulsi Gabbard when she was campaigning in 2019.
Donald Trump has taken to create a war with Iran. First, he tore up the Iran nuclear agreement.
I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
Second, he has escalated crippling sanctions against Iran.
The sanctions kicking in at midnight Sunday target Iran's oil exports, banking, and shipping, even though UN inspectors say Iran is still complying with the nuclear
The
deal.
United States will pursue additional sanctions tougher than ever before.
Third, he designated Iran's military as a terrorist organization.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has announced that the U.S. is designating the Iranian Revolutionary Guard as a terror group.
Today, the United States is continuing to build its maximum pressure campaign against the Iranian regime. I'm announcing our intent to designate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, including its Quds Force, as a foreign terrorist organization.
With this terror designation, the U.S. can sanction pretty much anybody who talks to or deals with or has any business whatsoever with the IRGC.
And fourth, he continues to deploy more and more U.S. troops to the region.
Just moments ago, the Pentagon authorized an additional 1,000 American troops to the Middle East in response to growing concerns over Iran.
The Trump administration announced yesterday that a U.S. aircraft carrier and a bomber task force are being sent to areas closer to Iran.
Yes, there will indeed be hell to pay. Let my message today be very clear. We are watching, and we will come after you.
We've got to stop Donald Trump from starting a war with Iran. I'm asking you to join me and support my legislation, the No More Presidential Wars Act. To qualify for the third presidential debate and make sure...
Tulsi. In 2019, right? Yeah. I was told in 2024 that if I voted for Kamala Harris, prices would go up. I was told that if I voted for Kamala Harris, rights would be suppressed. I was told that if I voted for Kamala Harris, that there'd be domestic uncertainty and civil unrest. I was told that if I voted for Kamala Harris, we would be going to a war with Iran. Well, I voted for Kamala Harris, and all those things happened. Guess what, though? You know. Okay, I want to play. You now need to hear from Anna Paulina Luna. I don't normally want to platform someone like her, but I think for the purposes of this conversation, because this is the spin that we're going to get from the people involved here. Let me see if I can find this soundbite for you, because you're going to be like, okay, sure. This is the game they're playing now. So let me just be sure I have the right one. Hang on one second. Give me a second. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Appreciate you. Hang on one sec. Okay, here we go. So she's doing the tour over the weekend, right? And again, you heard the president tell you that this is a war. Let me play the sound first. News is flying a million miles an hour. Can you guys just send all the love that you have to my amazing mod team today, because they are working overtime to try to keep me updated. And I do want to shout out our friend Amy Lee real quick. So I'm going to pause briefly. Our friend Amy Lee, she's been on our show numerous times. And Mavis is at the Children's Hospital. And I wanted to read this. They discovered that Mavis aspirated during her surgery and now has pneumonia. She's still in Children's Hospital, still having very high fevers over 104. She won't eat or drink and is having a very difficult time taking her meds. She's also had uncontrolled vomiting. Our girl is in serious trouble. We need to see some improvement. So I'm sharing this with you. So if you guys could please send your love, send flowers, send hearts, whatever you can to let Amy Lee know, to let Amy Lee and Mavis know how much we love them. Really appreciate that. Okay, let me first. I'm going to play some sound from Pete Hegseth, because he's there's a SETCOM, Department of Defense. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just all over the place.
2 days ago,
I'm all over the place a little bit this morning because there is so much going on. But I will focus. Give me a moment.
2 days ago, under the direction and direct orders of President Donald J. Trump, the Department of War launched Operation Epic Fury, the most lethal, most complex, and most precise aerial operation in history. For 47 long years, the expansionist and Islamist regime in Tehran has waged a savage, one-sided war against America. They didn't always declare it openly, except for their constant chants of death to America. They did it through the blood of our people. Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan, funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carried the names of brothers who never came home. Brothers butchered by Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah.
No new wars.
And his death cult.
Okay. Just want to make sure you heard that, Mega. So when you are in your spaces today and they're going to tell you that there's no new wars, good luck with that.
No.
So this is Anna Paulina Luna in her, just listen to her wild defense of this. It's important. I'm playing these because I think it's really, really important so that we can use this rhetoric as we call them out once again for their bullshit. This is Anna Paulina Luna on CNN.
The intention of the U.S. government to invade. That is not what is happening. These are isolated, strategic, large-scale attacks. But again, there are negotiations that will take place, or at least open communication with the White House as soon as the president decides that he is ready to talk. And that has developed in the last couple of hours. So that update will come hopefully later on this evening.
I'm sorry, you say it's not the intention of the U.S. government to invade? Did we not just invade?
We are not invading. Are you seeing boots on the ground there? Because I'm not. And I've been told directly by the State Department and the White House that that's not the intention.
I mean, we just killed the leader of the country. That's not... Okay.
Targeted strategic military strikes and invasions are two totally different things, according to military terminology.
They're calling it a war. The president has called it a war.
And targeted airstrikes
strategic strikes. And according to the White House, and I just talked to them and talked to the Secretary of State, strategic strikes are not war.
Okay.
Really? So if someone bombed America,
do you see boots on the ground?
Oh wait, that makes no sense. So you're saying it has to be boots on the ground?
According to your own definition,
so that's your standard.
The regime of Iran has killed thousands of Americans and murdered them. So by definition, they've already declared war on the United States.
I know. I've had Shiite missiles raining down on me too. I know how terrible the Iranian regime is. We are not debating that they are a truly terrible regime. What we're talking about is the standard for the commander-in-chief to commit our sons and daughters in the military to war, and going to war when it is in the national interest, and making that case to America and going to Congress and getting approval for war. So you are saying this is a limited mission that is only bomb strikes, so there is no congressional authorization necessary. How is this different from when Joe Biden bombed the Houthi rebels in Yemen without congressional authorization, and you oppose that?
Exactly. So let's be very, very, very clear. As Afghanistan and Pakistan are popping off as well, the no new wars president, we are at war because of him. Plain and fucking simple. You have nowhere to hide, MAGA. You've got nowhere to hide. The one thing that I can potentially say that I agreed with President Trump before he became political was his stance on these never-ending wars. I agreed with that. I was done. I was done with these regime changes, these interventions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I agreed with that. So here we are now. Here we are now. Over the weekend, I heard people saying, we're not at war. You don't know what war is. Well, when the president tells you we're at war, when the Secretary of Defense, Egg's Breath, tells you that we're at war, are you going to argue with them too? Or are you going to be Anna Paulina Luna and be in complete fucking denial? Your choice, how you want to play that. All right. Let's bring everybody up to speed as much as possible. Okay. As we know, as of March 2nd, The I country has widened its offensive beyond Iran, launching strikes on the Hezbollah targets in Lebanon after retaliatory missile. Thank you. After retaliatory missile and drone strikes from Hezbollah, effectively ending a ceasefire and pushing the region towards a broader war. This is from AP. The U.S. and Israel have carried out significant airstrikes on Iranian targets following the reported unaliving of the supreme leader in an earlier U.S.-Israeli operation, a development that has galvanized Tehran's retaliation across the region. Iranian-backed missiles in Iraq and Lebanon are launching attacks on the U.S. and I-country positions, including drones targeting bases and missiles, striking areas across the Gulf, underscoring that it is no longer limited to one front. Iran has fired missiles and drones at targets in Saudi, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, and other Gulf states, prompting diplomatic protests. For example, Saudi Arabia has summoned Iran's ambassador over attacks on its territory. The UK government, responding to a drone strike on a British RAF base in Cyprus, says it's not being dragged into an Iraq-style conflict, though it's coordinating defensive measures and evacuation plans for British nationals. Casualty tolls are rising across multiple nations, with more than 550 deaths have been reported in Iran alone. Who knows what that number is potentially going to be, with additional military and civilian casualties in the I country, Kuwait, and the UAE, and Lebanon, and as just reported, now 5 American service members have lost their life. The conflict is disrupting global air travel and oil markets, threatening economic volatility beyond the region. Just briefly, the Qatar Energy said Monday that it will stop production of liquefied natural gas as the Mideast war rages, taking one of the world's top suppliers off the market. The state-owned firm blamed the war for the decision. It offered no timeline for restoring its production. Oil prices are already risen over the war. So there's that. Nothing to see here, though, I'm sure, right? Casualty tolls are rising. Some world leaders are signaling willingness to engage in talks, but Iran has publicly rejected negotiations with the U.S., even as U.S. officials express conditional openness to dialogue while fighting continues. The widening crisis stems from the U.S. I-country military campaign against Iran that began in late February, including strikes on Iranian strategic sites. Iranian retaliation has brought direct combat into the Gulf, drawing in Hezbollah and other regional actors, turning what began as a bilateral confrontation into a broader Middle Eastern war. I want to talk about the school, the girls' school. And I was just like, okay. So 2 things. First of all, a Saturday in Iran is a Monday here. It's a school day. So we've seen defenders of this saying, well, it's impossible. It can't be a school because it's Saturday. Once again, that's American entitlement, thinking that the world operates off of our calendar. It does not. Minab, Iran. I'm gonna mispronounce this. I'll do my best. The Shahera Tayyaba Girls Elementary School. Iranian authorities report heavy loss of life, as many as 180 unalived, according to Iranian state media, citing local officials and health ministry figures. Iranian sources say an additional 95 students and staff were wounded. The strike occurred while classes were in session, and Iranian officials have strongly condemned it as a grave tragedy. There is no independent international verification yet of the precise figures or the party responsibility for the strike. U.S. CENTCOM has stated it is investigating reports of civilian harm related to military operations. Some reports additionally mention students unalived in strikes in Tehran, such as at least 2 students reportedly unalived in a separate attack in the capital. 5 service members, United States service members, have lost their lives. To cover up the fact that Donald Trump and others are in the Jeffrey files. Yeah, I said that. This is a distraction campaign. It's 5. We've got confirmation that it's 5 now, apparently. So we were told all kinds of things. And I'm just wondering, I don't expect much from Trump defenders. I really don't. But if there was one sort of if there was one thing that there seemed to be just a general consensus on, was that no more intervention, no more wars. You cannot say that anymore. You can't. You can't say it. You absolutely cannot say it. You can't. You've lost that talking point. You can't be Anna Paulina Luna and say strategic strikes aren't war when the Secretary of War tells you it's war. When the President of the United States tells you it's war. You can't have it both ways. The same person who says, I should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Again, I want to be very, very, very clear. I'll probably say this numerous times this morning. We are talking about the governments involved here. Innocent loss of life, Iranian life, Lebanese life, Israeli life, lives, innocent civilians across the region being dragged into this. American Jews are going to be under threat. There's no doubt about that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And we have to be better. We absolutely have to be better. This is one of those moments. We got dragged into this. We got dragged into this because our president needs a distraction because he is a predator. Yes, I said it. Morning.
Good morning, friend.
You doing all right?
I'm okay. I want to humanize some numbers for people. Most of you guys know my dad did 22 plus years in the Navy. I lost my older brother in Syria in 2015, and my older brother did 20 years in the Army. The issue I'm having with a lot of Trump supporters is the fact that they just see it as a number. And I want to read something that I wrote to bring humanization to the number. They always say it's like the weather. 3 service members killed overseas. Details are still coming in. The anchor's voice is calm. Too calm. Like it's just another Sunday. I freeze. Because 3 is a number until it isn't. Because my dad is a service member. And overseas is where he is. And details pending feels like a hand around my throat. I don't breathe. I listen for clues in the background. Desert, ocean, ship, base. Was it a convoy? Was it a strike? Was it his unit? I count backwards in my head. Time zones, deployments. Last time he called. Last time he said, I'll be home soon, kiddo. I tell myself, they would have called already, wouldn't they? There's this rule we all knew growing up, without anyone saying it out loud. If it's your parent, they're gonna knock. They don't announce it on TV. They knock. But what if the knock is just late? What if the news is faster than the car with 2 uniforms in the front seat? I watch my mom's face. She's pretending to fold laundry. The same towel. Over and over. I hate that I know this fear so well. That it lives in the house with us. It eats dinner at our table. Every time the world gets loud, the anchor moves on. Stocks, weather, politics. And I'm still stuck on 3. 3 names not yet released. 3 families already broken. 3 kids just like me are holding their breath. I don't know if my dad is one of them, and not knowing is its own kind of battlefield. I think when we see these numbers come across the screen, I think majority of us don't truly understand the impact of actions like this. And I feel like I know most people on the left are upset, but I still feel like it doesn't truly set in until you're in the shoes of a military child or a military spouse or a mom or a parent or a family member. So I'm sure there's a lot of people in the chat who have military members in their families and stuff like that. Just know you're not alone. You're not alone at all. Because there's some of us who understand that pain, even if we've never had a parent in the military. But yeah.
When you reach out, Olive, I'm so glad that you read that and you wrote that. Yeah, it's we have to put. I mean, military families know. I'm not going to preach to you or to anybody. Military families know, but this is what happens. This is what happens when people have an agenda. When you're lied to, especially from my perspective, this is a cover-up. There's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind what this is. So American lives lost to protect a network of global predators.
I mean, no amount of Iran rubble is going to cover the Epstein files. No amount.
Correct.
And the thing that mind boggles me is how many people are so not upset. Because when you were talking about the schoolgirls in Iran, I was seeing photos of backpacks covered in blood. And I'm like, that's something that didn't bother me because we're used to seeing stuff like that here. The only difference is they don't have lockdown drills for missiles. They don't have lockdown drills. You can't hide under a desk. You can't turn off the lights and pretend the missile can't hear you. Like, it's, again, it may be, I might be unpatriotic, but I think Iranian schoolgirls are more important than American presidents that are grapists. That's just me, though. And I just feel like people need to understand that midterms are at the utmost importance if it wasn't already. Because again, there doesn't need to be 3 kids without a dad or a mom, or it's hard. Again, I was lucky that, you know, my dad never got hurt, but it was hard when I lost my older brother. So, but yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for
being
letting
here
me share.
and sharing that. Anytime. I love you.
I love you.
This is what we're talking about. This is why, I mean, this is going to be a rough morning. Buckle up, but this is reality. Hi, Jen.
Hey, good morning. I'm a military mom, and it's super difficult for me to be here and talking about this because every morning I wake up thinking my son is going to tell me he's gotten orders, received orders, and he's my only son. He's about to get married in March, this month, and I am fearful because not only am I a military mom, but I'm also a very proud American Jew that does not support Netanyahu. And I know that there are many, many military families in the chat, and we just need to stick together and support each other, and be there for each other. Like Olive said, you know, you're not alone. We're here together, and just really scared. I think that if you could give these military families a little bit of grace, that would be really awesome for us. Not you.
Agreed.
I mean, not like the people in the chat, right?
No, I got you. I think most people. This community knows that. This community knows that. No, for sure.
So, yeah.
Thanks for jumping in today. I know it's going to be a rough day for everybody. I appreciate you being here. We love you.
All right. Love you. Bye.
All right. Bye. Yeah. So what I wanted to do today, because I think it's important, you know, there's opportunities to try to learn for a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't even understand the history of the region, especially the U.S.-Iran relationship, the Iran-I country relationship, and then how this relates to what we see today, leading up to the Iran nuclear deal. So there's all kinds of things, right, that are happening here. So I thought I would spend a little bit of time kind of going through that. I just think it's really, really, important that we get a little historical context so people can understand. I know a lot of folks are requesting, and I'll try to get as many people as I can today. So just bear with me, folks. If you want to hang in the request or in the queue, I'll be happy to bring you up. But I just want to make sure we can, because again, knowledge is power. Before 1953, the U.S. and Iran, this is from Wiki, this is from history, this is from the AP. I've compiled a whole bunch of stories. The U.S. and Iran were generally friendly with no major conflicts before 1953. Iran was strategically important because of oil and its location near the Soviet Union during the Cold War, which of course tracks. 1951 to 1953, oil nationalization crisis. Iran's democratically elected prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, nationalized Iran's oil industry, angering Britain and Western companies. The CIA-backed coup, which was the U.S. and Britain orchestrated a coup that overthrew Mossadegh and restored the Shah back to power. The Shah ruled with strong U.S. and Western support for the next 26 years. So that was sort of the beginning of the intervention over oil, the nationalization of the oil industry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The U.S. gained a Cold War ally because of that, but many Iranians saw the coup as foreign interference, creating long-term resentment. So for people on the right to say that this regime has been anti-American, and yeah, sure, we can talk about the current Iranian regime, you have to understand the history. Like, the bomb didn't just blow up, there was a fuse lit. And the fuse was lit 70 years ago or so because of, well, you know. Between 1953 and 1979, there was close alliance under the Shah. Iran became one of America's strongest allies in the Middle East. The U.S. provided military aid, economic assistance, and intelligence support. Iran bought large amounts of American weapons and cooperated against Soviet influence. The Shah's government was authoritarian. His secret police, the Sabak, supported by U.S., suppressed dissent. Many Iranians blame the U.S. for supporting repression, which then led to the Islamic Revolution in 1979. And this is when most people in America sort of became aware of Iran. It was a country far, far, far away that not a lot of people know anything about. If you're a Gen Xer, you're aware because of the Iran hostage situation and famous pictures of the embassy. Iranian Revolution overthrew the Shah. The Ayatollah created an Islamic Republic hostile to the U.S. Between 1979 and 1981, the hostage crisis. Iranian students seized the U.S. embassy in Tehran, held 52 Americans for 444 days. The U.S. broke diplomatic relations with Iran in 1980. This permanently transformed the relationship into open hostility. So again, why did it start? It started because of us. The U.S. supported Iraq during the Iran-Iraq War indirectly to contain Iran. In 1988, U.S. shoots down an Iranian passenger plane. The USS Vincennes shot down an Iran Air Flight 655, killing 290 civilians. President George W. Bush in 2002 labeled Iran part of the axis of evil. In the 2000s, Iran developed nuclear technology. The U.S. feared Iran was pursuing nuclear weapons. That's on around the same time that Bibi started becoming a name in the iCountry, right? Because of his sort of, we might have an opportunity here to kind of lean in on American hatred towards Iran and then Iran's hatred towards the U.S. and the West in general. In 2015, Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. 2018, Trump pulled us out. The U.S. then on the live General Soleimani in 2020, dramatically escalating tensions. We're going to talk about the, I want to talk about the JCPOA in just a second, but let's get a little bit more about the coup. In 1953, the 1953 overthrow of the prime minister is the single most important historical event explaining modern U.S.-Iran hostility. Its impact is political, psychological, and structural, and still directly influences decisions today. Mohammad Mossadegh was democratically elected prime minister in 1951. He was extremely popular inside his country and was focused on Iranian sovereignty, especially over oil. He nationalized Iran's oil industry, which had been controlled by the British-owned Anglo-Iranian oil company, now BP. From Iran's perspective, this was about ending foreign exploitation and then regaining national control over its resources. From the US-UK perspective, it was seen as a threat to Western economic interests. Follow the fucking money, a possible opening for Soviet influence in the Cold War. Russian propaganda. In August of 1953, the CIA began British intelligence carried out Operation Ajax, which paid protesters and agitators, spread propaganda against Mossadegh, supported military officers who arrested him, and then restored the Shah to absolute power. This was later publicly acknowledged by the CIA. The result, Iran's democratic government was overthrown. A pro-U.S. authoritarian monarchy was installed. You wonder why? You wonder why the tensions? You wonder why? You came and we have a democratically elected president who's popular. There were rights. Women had some freedoms. And then all of a sudden, because the U.S. felt like they were going to get closed out on oil, and or potential Cold War relationship between Iran and Russia, that we had to stick our fucking nose in it. Okay. From 1953 to 1979, the Shah ruled with strong U.S. military and financial support, massive arms purchases from the U.S., and then help from U.S. intelligence to build SAVAK, the secret police. The SAVAK became notorious for torture, political imprisonment, suppression of dissent. To many Iranians, this created a clear narrative. The U.S. overthrew democracy and supported dictatorships. Okay. The revolution in 1979 was not just religious, it was also nationalist and anti-foreign. Many revolutionaries believed the Shah was a puppet of the U.S., Iran's sovereignty had been stolen in 1953, and the U.S. would try to control Iran again. This explains why revolutionaries seized the U.S. embassy, held hostages for 444 days, and then adopted the Death to America as a political slogan. From their perspective, it was retaliation for 1953. Why it still affects Iran's decisions today? Iranian leaders see the U.S. as historically interventionist. Well, that's because we are. Iran's government believes the U.S. has a pattern of regime change, true, sanctions to weaken governments, true, and military intervention. The 1953 coup is their primary historical example. Iran's leadership often argues that countries without nuclear deterrence are vulnerable to regime change. The U.S. overthrew Mossadegh when Iran was weak, and that nuclear capability is protection. This is similar to North Korea's strategy. Also, it shapes Iranian public opinion. Even many Iranians who oppose their current government still view the coup as a national humiliation, a proof of foreign interference. This creates widespread distrust of U.S. intentions. Iranian leadership actively teaches it. The 1953 coup is, quote, is taught in Iranian schools, referenced in speeches by Iranian leaders, and then used to justify resistance to U.S. pressure. We created this problem. American interventionism. We did this. This is on us. We created the sentiment. The death to the U.S., that came from what we did to their country. I am not defending the regime in any way. I'm not defending the regime in any way. Please understand that. But you have to understand where this came from. If you keep picking the scab's going to bleed. If you keep picking it, it's going to bleed, and it's going to get worse. We started this thing. We started this. The U.S. has officially acknowledged its role. In 2013, the CIA publicly released documents confirming the coup. In 2000, U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright said, quote, "The U.S. played a significant role in orchestrating the overthrow of Iran's popular prime minister. This admission validated what many Iranians had already believed." Bottom line, why 1953 still matters? From the Iranian perspective, the U.S. overthrew their democracy, installed a dictator, supported repression for decades. From the U.S. perspective, it was a Cold War decision to prevent Soviet influence. How many times have we heard that? The result today, deep structural distrust, mutual suspicion, and then ongoing geopolitical rivalries. So I'll pause there briefly. I've got a few folks that have requested, and then we'll talk about the JCPOA. Susan, how are you today? Susan, are you there? Susan? Progressive in your pocket. Sorry. Good morning.
Hey, morning, Fact. How's it going?
It's going all right. What's on your mind?
Man, that's a big question. Right after we start doing all of this, you and I've been on panels a couple of times before, so I think I generally know how you feel about some of this stuff. But I wouldn't consider myself an expert by any means. Take me with a bit of a grain of salt. But I'm a Marine veteran. I was crypto. I speak Arabic. I worked intelligence, right? And I don't tend to make claims about all of this kind of stuff about geopolitics that I can't very reasonably back up. So I don't really do that. But I just outside of like my heartbreaking for the Iranian people and my concern for my friends who are still in the service, right? I don't know what's going to happen to them either. This is the consequence of when you have this like short-sighted, emotional, like I've been calling it Somali warlord politics, where like we've been going around the world, we've been going across oceans and just doing what feels good because we're rah America and we can. I don't think there are a lot of adults in the room that consider what the consequences of invading Iran are actually going to be. Because yes, we can win a war with Iran. They don't have the military means to prevent us from doing that. That is true. But we've also wargamed this out for a long time. We have so many military personnel. We have so many intelligence assets focused on just Iran and on just what happens if we fuck with Iran. And we're going to see all of it unfold in front of us. And the Trump administration is going to tell us that it's just not happening. We knew they would close the Strait of Hormuz. That's 20% of the world. That's 20% of the world's oil, right? And we could force it open. We can do that. We have the means. But you have to take a good long look in the mirror and ask yourself how many lives you are comfortable losing to force open the Strait of Hormuz for the sake of the international oil market, because it's not going to be free. That our actions closed. I mean, the reason the strait's closed is because of our actions. So it's like, yes,
you're the problem and potentially the solution. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not caping for the Ayatollah here. No love lost for me. I don't like the guy any more than anybody else does. But
sure,
this is kind of just realpolitik, right? Iran is a non-nuclear power whose greatest regional adversary is a nuclear power. So how do you contend with that? Well, you have to make it so painful to attack you that even though you're not a nuclear power, it's just not fucking worth it. They've done that.
Correct.
That's what any country would do. That's why they internationally fund terror groups. That's why the Strait of Hormuz is, you can make a really strong case it is the second most well-defended strip of territory on Earth, right behind the South China Sea between China and Taiwan. We're not forcing that open for free. We are going to lose, not money, people doing that.
Correct.
I am having a hard time, like, emotionally coping with this because I don't feel like there is an adult in the room. I feel like this administration, somebody has a thought, they have a cool idea. Wouldn't it be sweet if we just overthrew the Ayatollah and just there's no moderation to the conversation? I don't understand how the fuck we got here. Sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to curse up here or not. My bad.
You can fucking swear, bro. I don't fucking care.
But yeah, I don't know. I think we mostly agree on things. I just wanted a chance to say my piece about a little bit of it.
I appreciate that, Grumble. Thank you for your service. Much appreciated. I'm sure this is a rough day for everybody involved, but you're right. This is a situation. That's why I'm going through the history. I want people to understand that we started this. We're the bully. We're the ones that created this unrest. We are the ones that orchestrated a coup. We're the ones that destabilized the region again and again and again and again. And now it's even more obvious that Bibi, the war criminal, is certainly pulling the strings. No doubt about it, in my opinion. That's my opinion alone, but I think there's enough evidence to support it.
I mean, I don't know what else it could be, really. It's just, this reflects to me like a fundamental misunderstanding of politics in the Middle East, right? Like, the Ayatollah is obviously antagonistic, but he does the same things that Bibi does, where like you generate a conflict, you generate an adversary so that you can stay in power, kind of galvanize support, right? Iran has always known they can't just win a conventional war against the US or Israel. So they saber rattle, they say, we'll defend our country, we'll develop the weapons that can defend us from anything, blah, blah, blah. And we, like the Ayatollah can let a few missile strikes that are super public in the middle of fucking nowhere go, right? If we're going to strike nuclear sites, whatever, and then throw it all over the news, they can let that go. That's just business as usual. But prior to 2024, like, if you can even call it this, if these conflicts even qualify, Iran has never declared war on Israel before. That's not a thing. You have proxy conflicts, you have international funding, like, sure, they're adversarial, sure. Iran has never declared war on Israel before. This should be a big red flag. This should be an alarm bell going off in everybody's head.
I agree. There's no deny. Like, again, two things can be true: that the Ayatollah was a war criminal, a despicable human who committed atrocities against not only his own people, but funding terror. There's no denying that. There is no denying that. That's why it was very clear at the beginning of the show today that we're talking about the leadership. We're talking about these leaders and others. But the innocent lives to be impacted are the ones that we should be talking about more. Innocent Iranians, school children, innocent Israelis, innocent American Jews who are going to be taking the heat for a lot of this. And the rise of anti-Semitism is already escalating at a very high rate, and it's just going to get worse. But Grum, thanks for jumping in today. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your perspective on things as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Be safe out there. Have a good day.
You too.
So we have to be very careful right now. We have to be very, very careful. Good morning, friend. How are you today?
Hey, man. Funny how I reached out from the airport yesterday and we had that brief conversation, and then, thank you for saying what you've been saying about my people. Because we're not represented by a single leader, right? But as somebody who was a part of Operation Earnest Will and Operation Praying Mantis, I have a little more intimate knowledge of what it's like to face Iran, because I was the guy in the boat getting fired upon. And despite what the Marine just said, Iran has declared war on Israel.
I think he was talking officially.
No. Let me. This is important. Nuance matters in geopolitics.
Okay,
right.
Fair.
So, and they've also said it publicly, right? The Ayatollah specifically preached about wanting to permanently erase and remove all persons that lived there, right? Not just Jews. By the way, keep that in mind, because this is the important nuance part, right? The caliphate is what dictated the want and the desire to do the removal. That was fomented in all of the proxy arms that they had. Those proxy arms made the exact same declarations. Right? So you can try to split hairs, but in geopolitics, if the Ayatollah, who is maybe still is, who knows, the supreme leader, right? We don't know, right?
Yep.
Had preached since 1979 about this, right? And here's a different perspective, right? And we're not gonna tokenize, but if you follow any Persian thought leaders who are Jews who escaped with whatever they had on their back to get here to the United States, they will tell you point blank what's going on over there, right? And the fact that we now have to have rapid response forces here in Southern California to be able to respond to our temples, to our schools. And this is real, right? This isn't pretend. You know who I am, and you've seen what I look like when I'm on duty, right? And it started because of Pittsburgh. But all of these seeds have been planted since 1979. And I think it's super important to remember that we, not only have we fomented everything, right, since the 30s over there, but we did it all, and you pointed this out quite eloquently, the entire Red Scare domino theory, which turned out to be a load of shit, right?
Correct.
It still goes on today, right? Because we keep saying, none of this is happening, none of this is happening, none of this has happened, none of this has happened, right? But yet, if you follow the money, it's because the money is the propaganda machine. It's not any one group, it's those with money. This entire thing is a cover-up. I believe it's a part of a beginning of an internal coup within our government, and I'm not a fucking tinfoil hat person. They are doing every single thing they can to protect every single person with money that is definitely ever present in a bunch of files.
Agreed.
Right? This has nothing to do with preventing someone from having any type of powers, nuclear or whatnot. This only has to do with protecting men.
Keep going, bro. You're cooking. I'll be right back.
Yeah. And if we want to really talk about this, right, who are the people that continue to suffer? It's every single marginalized group. And they've also figured out how to separate marginalized groups and get marginalized groups not to like each other. Because again, this is more than about follow the money. This is really understanding now and how important it is to understand who the persons are behind all of this. Because we need to expose them. We need the tinfoil hat is the new black. Yes, that's correct. We need to be able to get to the bottom of this. And we're not going to be able to get to the bottom of this if we keep focusing on the wrong things, right? And I think this is what they want. They want us distracted. They want us divided. They want us hating each other, right? But the people who are going to suffer are the people who constantly get ignored by our current president. 4 service members so far. A flippant...
We have reporting to maybe 5.
Maybe 5. We have a flippant comment by the draft dodging Orrin Weasel teats who said, oh, this just happens. No, it doesn't just happen. You, President Trump, 100% own this because you made it happen. Because you're protecting people. You're distracting people. We had no business being over there since the 30s, right?
Correct.
But here we are, continuing to, once again, interfere. And we've talked about this for 141 years now. We have been going to countries, forcing our will upon them, right? Furthering the removal of Native and Indigenous people in support of the hunt for national resources, right? And yet we keep acting like we're great, like we're innocent, like we don't have any blood on our hands. Everything that has happened in the last 141 years from geopolitical perspective was at the behest of the United States of America.
I would agree.
Period. And people don't read history. People don't understand that Iranian citizens want to be set free. They want to come to American universities. They want to immigrate. They want to be a part of this. They don't want to be a part of a Islamic State. Now, maybe some do. Sure. Right? There's always going to be a percentage.
Absolutely. That's reasonable.
What this has done to the American Jewish community has caused irreparable harm. And even within our community, it's starting to cause rifts.
I'm sure.
And I just want people to keep hearing what Steve is saying. Say what you want about Bibi Netanyahu. I don't care. Please, on behalf of Jews in America, do be careful about how you talk about things, because all you're going to do is feed the people that want to hear you saying certain things. The propaganda is real. The mis and disinformation out there is real. And it's very difficult to separate truth from reality because these guys are so fucking good at doing what they're doing, right? Release the e-files, unredact everything, impeach Alito, impeach Thomas, impeach Pam Bondi. Who else? Kristi Noem and her boyfriend.
Hegseth, the whole 9 yards, all of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. Anyway, I managed to do all that and not get angry. So
I love you. We love you. Hearts in the chat for Obi, please. I appreciate what you do. You know that. I consider you a dear friend, and I was thinking about you when you messaged me yesterday. So thank you for saying what you said, bro. I got you.
Love you, man. Appreciate you.
Love you too.
Love to the chat.
All right, bye. Thanks, man. Bye. He's right. I mean, that's kind of the point here, right? We know that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi have seen all 6 million files, allegedly. They know. They know what's in there. They know. But don't forget, we've heard this story before. This is a wag the dog moment. There's no doubt about it. I want to get back just a little bit. I want to bring people up to speed on the JCPOA real quick. Let me thank Caitlin for the Do Something tour, but really more for you, Steve. You keep my faith in humanity every weekday morning from 8 to 12. Thanks for that, Caitlin. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. I really appreciate that. You're very kind. Thank you. You want to support what we're doing to get out of the road and talk to people? We had a real chance to test drive the Do Something tour last week a couple of times, and from the feedback that I got from people who watched our episode with Mike and with Debbie, seems like it might work. You want to support the channel, help us get on the road, you can do so at Factsstillmatter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. So the Iran nuclear deal, the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action is referred to, an agreement designed to prevent Iran from building nuclear weapons in exchange for lifting economic sanctions. It was signed in July of 2015 while Barack Obama was president between Iran, the U.S., the UK, France, Germany, Russia, and China, plus oversight by the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. These countries are often called the P5+1, the 5 UN Security Council permanent members plus Germany. Iran was enriching uranium, which can be used for civilian nuclear energy, which is legal, or nuclear weapons, which is illegal under the deal. The U.S. and allies feared Iran was moving toward building a bomb. Iran said its program was peaceful. The deal's goal, make it physically impossible for Iran to quickly produce a large fiery weapon. What Iran agreed to do, including the major restrictions, reduce uranium enrichment dramatically. Before the deal, Iran had enriched uranium up to 20%. After the deal, it was limited to 3.67% enrichment. Weapons-grade uranium is about 90%. This meant Iran could not produce the fuel necessary. It cut its uranium stockpile by 98%. Before, they had 10,000 kilograms of enriched uranium. After that, it was limited to 300. This was far below what's needed for a device. And then removed 2/3 of centrifuges. Before, they had 19,000 centrifuges. After, only 5,000 allowed. The centrifuges are the machines that enrich uranium. Iran allowed international inspectors into nuclear facilities, continuous monitoring, surveillance cameras, inspections of uranium supply chains. This made cheating incredibly difficult to hide. They were to disable key nuclear weapons facilities. They agreed to convert the Fordo nuclear site into a research facility, and then redesign the Arak reactor so it could not produce weapons-grade plutonium. What Iran got in return, economic sanctions were lifted. This allowed Iran to sell oil internationally, access global banking systems, and then recover between $50 and $100 billion in frozen assets. This significantly helped Iran's economy. How effective was the deal? Between 2015 and 2018, most experts and inspectors agreed that Iran complied with the deal. Iran did not build nuclear weapons during this period. Iran's breakout time increased from 2 to 3 months to about 12 months. Breakout time would be how quickly they could build a boom boom. This gave the world time to respond if Iran tried. Why, then, did the U.S. withdraw? In May 2018, while the twice impeached, four-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, convicted felon, name on a list, predator, liar, racist was the president, U.S. withdrew. Reasons were given because they said the deal was temporary. Some limits would expire between 2025 and 2030. That it didn't cover missiles. Iran could still develop ballistic missiles. That it didn't limit regional activities. That Iran supported proxy groups like the Hezbollah militias. And that economic relief strengthened Iran. Sanctions relief gave Iran more money. After the withdrawal, the U.S. reimposed sanctions. Iran gradually stopped complying with restrictions. What happened after the U.S. withdrew? Iran began increasing uranium enrichment, installing advanced centrifuges, expanding stockpiles. Everything that the deal did to keep them from doing those things, that was working to avoid the threat. By the early 2020s, Iran's breakout time dropped between, again, to 2 weeks or months. We did this. He did this. It was working. Iran had no desire to do this. This has been documented. Global intelligence agencies. You know the two intelligence agencies who didn't support the claims that they had reduced their centrifuges and that had reduced their stockpile and had reduced their weapons capability? You know the only two intelligence agencies that said they didn't do those things were these two. Shocker. Currently, the JCPOA is effectively inactive. Iran has advanced nuclear capabilities, and the U.S. and Iran remain in confrontation over the program. Iran agreed to restrict and allow inspectors of its program. It was working. Why did we stop doing it? You want to know why? My theory. It's my theory alone. The reason that we did it is so that he could give him a favor, so they could justify what they're doing now. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But maybe. Tapping is clapping, friends. Hi, Martina. How are you?
Hello. Tired. There's always something. It's chaos. But yeah, I thought I would pop up and mention, you've probably mentioned it already, but the War Powers Resolution and the opportunity for folks to reach out to their representatives about passing the War Powers Resolution as soon as possible.
Good call.
I popped the link to the Action Network link to write a letter to your representative in your Discord already.
Thank you, Martina. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And the other piece of this is, and I'm sure maybe you're going to get to it, but some of the locations that they're targeting in response are civilian locations where there's a lot of like U.S. citizens. For instance, Dubai in the UAE, they hit their civilian airport and they're hitting tourist targets. And there's a number of expats there from the U.S., but also countries all over the world. Like 90% of the UAE's population are people not from the Emirates. And so they're potentially unaliving citizens from multiple different countries, which is a way to really create a flashpoint in a war like we're seeing kick off right now. And so that's something that's really horrifying in terms of civilian loss and ways that this could bring a lot more countries in as they're targeting civilian areas of places like Dubai. And
I agree.
and Dubai was becoming a tech hub that could rival.
Ooh.
Sorry.
You went on you. There you go. Yeah,
I got a call. Dubai is becoming a tech hub that could rival what was happening in Israel in terms of their innovation and tech. And so now that you've got Gulf nations blowing each other up, essentially, you're going to make Dubai less successful as an innovation hub and destabilize what was very rapidly innovating potential competitor in the tech world against
correct
our Silicon Valley, or Israel actually has a really strong tech sector. And so
follow the money.
Yep.
Follow the money.
Beyond it being World War Epstein.
Correct. Agreed.
So
thank you for what you do, and thank you for posting that in the chat. I appreciate you, Martina. Keep your head down, put your chin up, so to speak.
Thanks.
Have a good day. Be safe out there. You got it. Take care. Bye. Yeah, it's a really good point. It's not just, and again, typical American entitlement. We lit the match. This goes back decades. This goes back decades. We're the ones that destabilized. We're the ones that destabilized Central America. We're the ones that destabilized the Middle East. We've not learned our lesson. We've just not learned our lesson. We create these leadership vacuums, right? So we go in, the reason we destabilized Libya, it led to the rise of, certain caliphates, ISIS in particular. Similarly in Iraq, again, stirring the pot, anti-American sentiment, justified. No one is going to sit up here and defend the Iranian regime under the Ayatollah. No one. But we have to, the American right that is defending this has got to understand where this came from and why. And why are we doing it? Plain and simple. Now, I briefly, I want to get into this about the president, the rumor about this executive order that he was either going to issue or not issue last week regarding elections. There is no mechanism for him to do what he claimed to do. It is fear-mongering. It is part of the distraction to get people thinking that the president can, in fact, nationalize elections. He can't. He knows he can't. He's desperate, like a rabid dog. He'll try. We're not going to let him. He'll try. He'll try everything because he is connected to the e-files. I'm going to paint a picture for you in just a moment about the connections to the iCountry and the e-files because we have to talk about it. I also want to go back a little bit and talk about the iCountry and I can say it, the Israel and Iran relationship. If the live gets taken down, friends, so be it. I can't fix that. So let's talk about their history a little bit because I think it's incredibly important. Israel and Iran have had two completely different eras of relations. This is from Encyclopedia Britannica. Between 1948 and 1979, they were considered close allies. From 1979, currently, they are hostile rivals and in direct war. The turning point was the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which replaced a pro-Western monarchy, as we just discussed, with the Islamic Republic hostile to Israel. Iran under the Shah was pro-Western and anti-Soviet, friendly with the U.S., and then pragmatic towards Israel despite regional opposition. Israel and Iran shared common interests. Intelligence sharing against Arab nationalist states like Iraq and Egypt, military cooperation and weapons sales. Israeli advisors helped modernize Iranian military and agriculture. Iran supplied oil to Israel, joint infrastructure projects, including oil pipelines. Iran never officially recognized Israel publicly, but maintained extensive informal ties. Iran was one of Israel's most important non-Arab regional partners. Britannica summarizes this clearly. Israel and Iran were, quote, allies from 1948 to 1979. The Iranian Revolution changes everything. This was the tipping point in geopolitics in the Middle East. Not only U.S. and our relationship with that part of the world, but Israel's relationship with that part of the world. They were allies. They were diplomatic partners. There wasn't recognition from Iran towards Israel, but they worked together. They were economic partners. They were allies. And then what the fuck happened? We stuck our fucking noses in it. The revolution replaced the Shah with the Islamic Republic led by the Ayatollah. This fundamentally changed Iran's ideology and foreign policy. Iran became a religious Islamic state. It rejected Western influence and alliances, and then it declared Israel illegitimate and an enemy. It wasn't like that before. Wasn't like that before. We stuck our noses in it. We installed someone pro-West. We pissed off the Iranian citizens because they felt like their own voices weren't being heard. We fucking did this. We did it. The revolution established an Islamic Republic under clerical rule and rejected Western influence in Iranian politics. Iran's new regime blamed Israel and the U.S. for regional problems and became openly hostile. The immediate consequences included diplomatic relations severed, Israeli embassy in Tehran closed, and then Iran began supporting anti-Israeli groups, funding proxies, etc. Phase 3, indirect conflict and proxy war. Instead of a direct war, Iran and Israel fought through proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Islamic Jihad. These groups fought Israel in Lebanon and in Gaza. Israel responded with covert operations, intelligence operations against Iranian nuclear and military programs, alleged sabotage, cyber attacks, and political unalivings. You know the term. This created a long shadow war. Phase 4, nuclear tensions and regional rivalries from the 2000s to the early 2020s. The biggest modern conflict driver is Iran's nuclear program. Israel sees a nuclear-armed Iran as an existential threat. Well, to Obi's point earlier, Iran sees Israel as an existential threat because they are actually in possession of nuclear weapons. Israel sees nuclear-armed Iran as an existential threat. Iran's nuclear program became a primary source of tension, especially over fears Iran could develop nuclear weapons. 2000s, Iran builds a facility. In 2015, they signed the JCPOA, which we went through. It was working. They were abiding by the rules. Even the IAEA said so. All the agencies that were responsible to monitor their production and or lack of, they were abiding by the rules. What two intelligence agencies said they weren't? Ours and the Mossad. Okay? 2018, U.S. withdrawals from the deal. 2020, tensions escalate again. Phase 5, direct military confrontation, 2024 to 2026. This is the most dangerous phase. Recent developments include direct Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear and military sites, Iranian missile and drone attacks on Israel, and then escalating direct military confrontations. The Encyclopedia Britannica notes that Israel conducted major strikes in 2025 targeting nuclear facilities, and then fighting included the Israel-Iran military conflict ceasefires. Recent news reports direct military operations and retaliatory attacks between Israel and Iran, marking the most serious escalation in decades. In summary, allies between 1948 and 1979, the Iranian Revolution in 1979, relations collapse. 1980s through the 2000s, proxy conflicts via Hezbollah, the H Group, and others. 2000s to 2020s, nuclear tensions escalate. 2024 to 2026, direct military confrontation. Ow. That felt good. Core reasons for the hostility today, they summarize. Ideology. Iran's leadership rejects Israel's legitimacy. Nuclear weapons fears. Israel fears Iran obtaining nuclear weapons. Regional influence. Iran supports armed groups hostile to Israel. And then military rivalry, increasing direct strikes and retaliation. Yeah. Yeah. Here we sit, sticking our fucking noses in it again. Is there anybody who has any, it doesn't even have to be history. You don't have to go back that far. You don't have to go back to the Iranian Revolution. You just have to go back to what we did in the Gulf and how we destabilized that region and how we destabilized other countries in that part of the world. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. 202-224-3121. Contact your senators today. Ask them about the War Powers Act. We're going to get into that in a little bit. It's not America first. Never has been. Never has been. Under this guy, it's never been America first. but Hunter's laptop, but Hillary's emails. Speaking of Hillary's emails and the iCountry, I found a nugget in the e-files that goes back to her emails, 2016, Russian interference, October surprise. We'll cover that in just a minute. And then that got thinking about the Iran-Contra affair. You guys remember that? So let's revisit some history again. Everybody keep tapping. Appreciate you guys, friends. There's 2,300 people in here. Maybe we can hit 1 million likes today. That'd be awesome. If you want to support the channel, we could make a massive dent in our goal towards 25K. If we got the dollar train working, if you can do it, that'd be fabulous. Appreciate you. At Factsstillmatter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Thank you very much. Iran-Contra. Ollie North, right? That was our childhood for many of us. We all remember these kinds of things. The Iran-Contra affair was a major U.S. political scandal in the mid-'80s involving secret arms sales, illegal funding, and a cover-up during Reagan's administration. Here's the breakdown, okay? The U.S. secretly sold weapons to Iran and used some of the money to fund rebels in Nicaragua, even though actions violated both U.S. policy and international law. So, remember when I tell you guys that we started this shit? We're literally, because we're the biggest arms dealers in the world, we've been supplying both sides forever. Selling weapons to Iran, which was officially an enemy at the time. Iran was under an arms embargo and considered hostile to the U.S. This was after the Iranian Revolution. This was after the hostages were taken. Okay? American hostages being held in the U.S. Embassy in Tehran for 444 days, and we're selling weapons to Iran simultaneously. Cool. Iran was under an arms embargo and considered hostile to the U.S. The Reagan administration secretly sold missiles to Iran. The goal was to help secure the release of American hostages held in Lebanon. This contradicted public U.S. policy of not negotiating with terrorists or supplying Iran. Not only did we supply Iran, we also negotiated with terrorists. We did it simultaneously. Congress had passed the Boland Amendment, which banned U.S. funding for the Contras. Some officials secretly diverted money from the Iran arms sales to fund the Contras anyway. This was illegal because Congress had explicitly prohibited it. Oftentimes, MAGA likes to compare Donald Trump to Ronald Reagan. Yeah, the more we unpack this shit, the more it's fucking obvious now, isn't it? Yeah, it is. In 1986, the operation became public after a supply plane was shot down and the investigation began. Congress held televised hearings where key officials testified. The mute Marine, remember? Ollie North? Key figures involved were President Reagan. President at the time denied knowing about the illegal diversion of funds. I don't know it. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Nope. I'm the president. I know everything about everything, but I didn't know anything about that. Nope. Of course not. Oliver North helped run the secret funding operation, and then John Poindexter supervised aspects of the program. Some officials were convicted, but many convictions were later overturned or, wait for it, pardoned. Yeah. It raised serious constitutional questions about whether the president and executive branch ignored Congress, secret foreign policy operations without oversight, and then government transparency and accountability. It became one of the biggest political scandals since Watergate and damaged U.S. credibility abroad. That was a huge scandal. It's like you stole a baseball card compared to what we're seeing now. Congress said, you cannot spend money to do this, and you did it anyway. Yeah. Yep, we fucking told you, and you did it anyway. Who's responsible for this? Again, it's us. It's us sticking our noses in this shit. And MAGA, one of the reasons that you voted for this, guys, is because you were told there would be no more wars. Afghanistan and Pakistan are officially at war with each other. They're popping off. The SecDef, the Secretary of State, the President have all referred to this as a war. you've lost the plot. You're right, Andre. You've lost the plot. All right. And then I'm going to spend a little bit of time on the connections between Jeffrey and It Isn't Real. The Epstein files, court documents, victim testimony, investigative reporting. This is all from the AP. They did a really good breakdown on this. I was thinking about this last night. They include several references to individuals with ties to Israel or Israeli intelligence circles. These references fall into three distinct categories: documented associates in meetings, financial and social ties with Israeli government officials, and then allegations and intelligence-related speculation, largely unproven. Before I get more into that, I want to share something with you that I found. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on a second. Everybody, please keep tapping. Where is it? Okay. So I think I played this sound last week, but this was Alan Dershowitz. Okay. Alan Dershowitz. This is really relevant now. Alan Dershowitz joined Piers Morgan, and they had a little conversation, and this is what it was about.
If he wasn't telling you about all the trafficking, which was a huge amount of his life, then why is it surprising if he kept the rest of it from you?
Well, it's very surprising because telling me that he worked for the Mossad would have given him a get out of jail free card. I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, he was an intelligence source, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
But some people will be listening to this going, hang on a second, you mean if he'd said he was working with the Mossad or CIA, then he would get off being a...
Well, I think that what Mr. Alan Dershowitz just said is the best recruitment video for Mossad. Basically, they're telling people, if you're Mossad, you can get away with anything.
There you go. Dershowitz telling Pierce, listen, if I had just known, if Jeffrey had just told me that he was an agent for the Mossad, even if he's a fucking predator and a P3DO, I could have gotten him off. Telling you out loud, white men with privilege and power and money can do whatever the fuck they want, especially if they've got the protection of the Mossad and Bibi. Right? When we tell you guys how deep this goes, right? And this is what bothers me about legacy media. They're not willing to go there. Well, I am. I'll fucking tear this shit apart if I have to. If it's the last thing I fucking do. Because this is what I'm talking about as far as how deep this goes. Surface level bullshit is as far as our legacy media is willing to go. Not me. We've got so many connections to the funding from the Israeli government and Mossad intelligence in particular, and how deep this goes. There's even reporting that a lot of predators in our country, people who were subjected to convictions potentially, were sort of disappeared and have ended up under the protection of the Mossad. You're right, legacy media is too scared. You're damn right they are, especially when we're talking about all these mergers, especially with all these mergers that are happening. You know, I know the MAGA Republicans would never like to hear this, but our media in the U.S. has always been conservative. Always. Well, it's now getting worse. Think about it. You've got Elon, you've got CBS and CNN likely to be owned by the same people, the Ellisons. You've got Elon on X side. You've got Zuckerberg, who's malleable. Zuckerberg would probably bounce back and forth depending on who's talking. But here we sit. Here we sit. Okay, so Ehud Barak, former prime minister of the I country. Barak had a known personal and business relationship with Epstein after Epstein's 2008 conviction. Barak visited his Manhattan townhouse multiple times between 2013 and 2017. Epstein invested millions of dollars into an Israeli tech venture connected to Barak called Carbine 911. Epstein reportedly provided funding to an Israeli research institute chaired by Barak. Okay? I'm going to pause there briefly because Ehud Barak's name has come up quite a bit. I found this email thread that goes back. It's a little bit, I'm going to do my best to try to piece it together for you. But this was a conversation between Tom Pritzker and J.E., sent to J.E.'s vacation email, the one that we all know about right now, that involves Ehud Barak, J.E., and Vitaly Churkin, who's a Russian operative. Okay? So you want to know how deep this goes? Here's one section of this email. Questions you would like to it starts with, okay, lunch with Zell, which will be not as interesting. Who's going to be there? Churkin, Barak, and Tom Barrack. Tom Barrack was connected to the Trump campaign in 2016. Questions you would like posed in your absence? I don't recall. Do you know Tom Barrack well? This is from, again, Tom Pritzker to J.E. Don't know him well. Some questions. Erdogan, Turkey, his goal is to consolidate power. Will he use nationalism or Islamism as his rallying cry with Turkey? The date of this, by the way, is August 29th, 2016. Remember that date and time at 11:42 a.m. Erdogan, his goal is to consolidate power. Will he use nationalism or Islamism as his rallying cry with Turkey? Syria, what are Russia's interests in Syria? Iran, will nuclear deal hold or break down? White House, how close will race need to be for Russians to give us an October surprise? And which of Hillary's emails was most entertaining? August 29th, 2016, 2.5 months before the election. That's collusion, friends, right there. That would be collusion between the Israeli intelligence, Russian intelligence, and the Trump campaign. Because Tom Barrack, billionaire, real estate investor, political fundraiser, and diplomat. He's best known for founding a major private equity real estate firm and for being a longtime friend and advisor to Donald Trump. Barrack has been close to Trump since the 80s, helping him with real estate deals early in Trump's career and later becoming a leading fundraiser and informal advisor in Trump's political campaigns. He chaired the presidential inaugural committee after Trump's 2016 election, raising significant funds for the inauguration events. Coincidence? Back to that email one more time. Statement from the White House. How close will, this again from Tom Pritzker to J.E., how close will race need to be for Russians to give us an October surprise? Which of Hillary's emails was most entertaining? Draw your own conclusions. That's fine. Yeah, but nothing to see, right? Just a coincidence. Okay, back to the relationship between in the files. Ehud Barak, again. Barak visited Epstein's Manhattan townhouse multiple times. And this is, again, between 2013 and 2017, after he was already a convicted predator, right? Negotiated the deal. Alex Acosta became Trump's labor secretary. Jay Lefkowitz was Epstein's defense attorney. Acosta and Lefkowitz worked at the same law firm together. Connections. Call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't care. I am just reporting on what we know. Flight logs show Barak flew on Epstein's plane at least once in 2004. Ehud Barak, again, former Israeli prime minister, acknowledged the relationship publicly but stated he was unaware of Epstein's criminal conduct beyond what was publicly known. We know that that's a lie. We know that that's a lie. Barak's response, he said the relationship was for business and philanthropic reasons. Okay, Howard, then. He denied involvement in or knowledge of Epstein's crimes. I don't know how that would be possible if he had visited Epstein's Manhattan townhouse between 2013 and 2017 after he was convicted. So that's a lie, too. Epstein invested heavily in Israeli tech startups, especially cybersecurity, emergency communications, and then surveillance-related technologies. Think about those three things, right? Cybersecurity, who are you looking for? surveillance-related intelligence technologies. What tools are you using to look for people? And then emergency communications. How do you squelch whatever gets out? Or how do you control the message? A company called Carbine 911, an Israeli-based emergency communications firm heavily connected to the Israeli government. Investors included Epstein, and individuals connected to Israeli intelligence circles, former Unit 8200 personnel. And then Ehud Barak served as, wait for it, chairperson. Ghislaine Maxwell's family, and then the Israeli intelligence connections. Her father, Robert Maxwell, was confirmed as an Israeli asset. Robert Maxwell had documented ties to Israeli intelligence agencies, the Mossad. Multiple journalists, historians, and former Israeli officials confirmed Maxwell had assisted the Mossad. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir attended Maxwell's funeral and publicly praised his service to the Israeli government. This is historically documented. There's more to come. More to come.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Hi,
How are you?
Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I just want to let you know, there's a gentleman, his name is John Caracos or something like that. He's a former CIA agent who has some really good takes on Epstein, and he definitely says Epstein was working for Mossad. He really, if you want to look at his, he has some interesting takes on Epstein and other issues. But just so you know, he definitely says he definitely was working for Mossad. I'm just going to put it out there.
Seems kind of, we can't say that directly, obviously, but it seems, if you connect the dots.
Yeah, and he also,
he
was actually sent to jail because he came out and divulged that we were lying about not doing torture. And he was actually sent to jail for that. Because he came out as a whistleblower, I guess, and said, no, we are definitely doing torture. And he actually went to jail for that. But he's on TikTok. He has some interesting takes. But if you ever want to, it's Kiriakous is his name. John, I don't know how you would say it. It sounds like a Greek name. But anyway, it's very interesting if you want to check him out. But he definitely has said that. So just want to put it out there. That's all.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, I guess we'll have to research it though.
Right, I'm saying yes, of course. He seems pretty credible. He really seems to know his stuff. So I thought it was just an interesting take as you're talking about this right now. I just thought, oh, wait a minute, I've heard that before. So, but yes.
Well, thank you for jumping in. I appreciate you very much.
Of course, no problem. Steve. Have a good morning.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
day. Be safe with that. You too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, these are these threads. Like that's the hard part, right? This is the hard part about what we do now, because we do our absolute best here, guys. Listen, I speak for myself and myself alone. I don't speak for my mods. I don't speak for anybody in here. I speak for myself and myself alone. When I make these connections, it's just how my brain works, right? I see this, I see that. Why does this connect to that? How does it connect to that? And what does that mean? We only report on what we know. I will stand by the facts that we share. I will certainly offer my opinion. There's too many coincidences. I've learned in my 58 years that if you see the same thing over and over again, it's no longer a coincidence. It's a likely pattern. So that's kind of where I sit right now. Anti-MAGA, you're not coming back up again. I don't know why you're requesting. You have a horrible take to start the show today. You're not coming back up. So don't even bother, because you're just going to get ignored. Okay. Here's some of the claims. Again, these are claims being made about connections found in the files to Israeli intelligence. Statements by former U.S. officials, statements by Epstein victims, investigative journalism, and then circumstantial patterns, again, with sources, blackmail concerns, elite access, etc. Alex Acosta. Again, Alex Acosta, just as a little story, Alex Acosta was the U.S. attorney. There was a 53-page federal indictment that was going to put Jeffrey Epstein, if convicted, in jail for the rest of his life. That federal indictment got torn up. They settled on state charges. The state charges were negotiated between Jay Lefkowitz, who was Epstein's attorney, and Alex Acosta, who was the U.S. attorney. By the way, when that change was made to the state charges of what he pled guilty to, none of the survivors who were part of the federal indictment were communicated with. None of them. None of them. He got a sweetheart deal, the non-prosecution agreement, which means all the other unindicted co-conspirators, we still don't know all the names. We know some of them. One was the president. So none of them faced charges. That was part of the argument that Ghislaine Maxwell wanted to use to get out of jail, right? Because am I a co-conspirator in this? If I'm a co-conspirator in this, then why couldn't I get out of jail? So Alex Acosta becomes Trump's labor secretary. Okay? Acosta reportedly told Trump during the transition in 2017 that Epstein, quote, belonged to intelligence. That's reporting. However, Acosta did not publicly specify which intelligence agency. This statement was reported by journalists but never formally confirmed by Acosta under oath. Another claim, Epstein may have used blackmail. Don't forget, people like Howard Lutnick had said that Epstein was the greatest blackmailer in history, numerous reporting about how that's why he had so many cameras installed, so he could have the goods on people, right? Talk about a honeypot operation to put prominent people in a position where they're, compromised based on what they're doing. Okay. I'm going to pause right there briefly because I want to play some sound from Nancy Mace. I don't generally want to give her any sort of credit for anything, but this sound is interesting. These are her thoughts and her thoughts alone. She's on Newsmax.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
What do you think happened?
I think he was murdered. And I don't know if it was an intel agency or, what it was. I don't have that information. But I was looking at the photos of his jail cell last week on my flight home from session. The thin...
What would happen? Hang on a second here. I don't know what happened. Okay, I'm going to play. I have to reset my Wi-Fi. This should play while I'm doing this. I have to go reset my Wi-Fi again. Okay, I'll be right back.
Happened.
I think he was murdered. And I don't know if it was an intel agency or, what it was. I don't have that information. But I was looking at the photos of his jail cell last week on my flight home from session. The thin sheet that was like, an inch wide, 2 inches wide, it was like 3 times the width of somebody's neck. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you hang yourself on your knees. And where are the photos of him hanging himself? Those did not exist in the files either. And, the data from the video cameras was erased. And all of a sudden, just a few days ago, a week or two ago, there's all of a sudden video of something orange going up the stairs toward his jail cell that we didn't know about. It's all too suspicious. I don't believe he killed himself.
Okay, do you think that he was a foreign asset, or do you think perhaps even a domestic asset, and that could be why he was taken out in prison?
I think it's possible he was a dual agent, and I think it's possible he was dual agent of Israel and also the CIA. I wrote a letter to the CIA, I believe it was yesterday. I believe that the CIA is in possession of documents that Congress should have access to, as to should the American public. I think this also goes beyond sex trafficking. Yes, this was a global sex trafficking ring, but I kept my letter broad enough to include possible arms deals, possible, money laundering and other monetary schemes, financial schemes that I believe Jeffrey Epstein may have been involved in. That information should be public. I want to see every single passport that he has under every single pseudonym. Those documents are somewhere and they haven't been released to us.
Again, her opinion. But when you if you think about the links to the cover-up of which Pam Bondi flat out lied to the American public about the missing minute, remember that? The famous missing minute from the Bureau of Prisons, and that was a complete fucking lie. And as they got more and more information from the e-files, there was this orange figure that was seen off in the distance walking up these stairs. Again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by nature, so it's hard to talk about these things and not be considered one. But you've got to be able to connect certain dots here, right? Just the information, it just doesn't track. Logical brains. You guys are the smartest chat on TikTok. Logic tells us that it's deeper than just he took his own life. Logic would tell us that, right? There's too many holes in the story. And I will say this again. As we are at day 73 of the United States government breaking the federal law signed by Donald Trump to release everything anything and everything, as long as survivors' names have been redacted. They are violating the law to protect people who are committing the worst, most heinous crimes imaginable. And these two are directly involved because of how far this cover-up goes. Lied to about the state of the Iranian nuclear program. We were told over the summer that it was obliterated. Obliterated. There's no options. Obliterated is not vague. Obliterated is obliterated. It doesn't get obliterated 7 months ago, and then all of a sudden, now they're a week away? Doesn't work that way at all. He's pulling the strings. This guy is pulling the fucking strings. There's no doubt about it. Because I have a feeling, this is where my brain goes, that he knows what's in the files. No doubt about it. Which goes back to the honeypot. So if you want to pull on this thread with me. If it is true that Jeffrey was an agent of Mossad and the honeypot, for those of you who don't know what a honeypot is, it's basically like a sting operation to gather information on some prominent individuals, those with power, those with influence, those with privilege, right? To have something over their head, to have dirt on them. Okay? To hold dirt on them. So he knows. He fucking absolutely fucking knows. And he's using that as a weapon against this guy, and he's pulling the fucking strings. I know it might be hard to hear for Trump supporters because they think this guy's a tough guy. He's being played. Putin knows. Bibi knows. Other prominent individuals know. They all know. They've got him over a barrel, and they will get exactly what they want out of him. The question is, what is the United States Congress going to do? Because so far, they ain't done shit. Let's go back to the connections in the files. Again, Acosta reportedly told Trump during this transition that in 2017 that Epstein, quote, belonged to intelligence. Okay. Epstein may have used blackmail. Some victims and investigators have alleged that Epstein had used hidden cameras in his homes. Wealthy and powerful individuals were recorded. These claims appear in lawsuits and victim testimony, but no court ruling has established intelligence agency involvement in such activity. This is true. Michael Wolff talked about it. Michael Wolff pulled a picture out of his safe one time and showed him Trump in a photograph, right? And then he also said in that safe, there were, whether it be cassette tapes or VHS tapes, whatever it might be, going back to that time. Of course, you're connected to intelligence. One of your key components for interrogation would be evidence. And you get video footage, and you get photographs, and you get financial history. You follow the fucking money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, 180 school children, young girls were killed to cover up a global fucking predator ring. American service men and women losing their lives, planes being shot down. 600 people have lost their lives so far because we're protecting predators. Because we're protecting a global sex trafficking ring that preyed upon girls and boys. Perpetrated by people at the top. People with power, people with money, people with prestige, people who get advantage in our society every single day. Other countries around the world are attempting to hold their people accountable. The weapons of mass distraction. This is what's been proven so far. That Epstein did, in fact, have financial and social relationships with Israeli figures, including Ehud Barak. That Epstein invested in Israeli tech companies. That Ghislaine Maxwell's father had confirmed Mossad connections. And that Epstein cultivated relationships with political and intelligence-connected individuals globally. He had the dirt on everyone. If he had it, then you know full well that he had it. So then can you make a connection to say, well, you know what? You know a little bit too much. You know a little bit too much. So, yeah, there's an accident. You took your own life in a jail cell. The physics, as they've explained it, based on the sheet that they found, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You mean to tell me that during the missing minute that Pam Bondi claimed was the time that he took his life? Really? Again, you don't need to be a conspiracy theory to pull on that thread. I'm going to pause right there briefly. I'm going to read you guys something. And then I'm going to ask you to tell me who you think wrote it. So give me a second to find it here. Where is it? Everybody keep tapping, please. I appreciate you all. And then I'm going to ask Mag a couple questions. Stand by. All right, I'm going to read this to you, and then I want you to take a guess who you think might have written it. It's going unnoticed because so much other news is happening, but the war drums are beating again in D.C. The warmongers worried that this is their last chance to get the white whale they've been chasing for 30 years, an all-out regime change war against Iran. A new Middle East war would be a catastrophic mistake. Our military stockpiles
Yeah, that's where you kind of got those factions to worry about. How do you pronounce it? Don't know how to pronounce it. Basij. Basij. Okay, thank you. Very nice of you to do that for me. The Basij. So you have those groups. I don't know how many more, if they're smaller ones, but those are the biggest ones, and that the people themselves will have to overcome. And I think they will. Like I said, I think they're highly intelligent people. It's like, and I said yesterday, at least as my understanding is 85% of them are very well-educated people. And I mean well-educated people. So, and I think they'll be able to take care of their responsibilities and run their own country. I would like to see them run a government, not a two-sided government. I'd like to see them get away from all that religious shit and just have a government to run everything, me personally, but I don't know how others see it, maybe they've had enough of that. This is the 21st century. Maybe they've had enough.
Well, just think about what they did in '79 when they took the hostages and they took over. They made the population of women and their rights go backwards, and they took everything away and put them in a headdress and all that kind of garbage, and took their educational values away from them as well. They couldn't no longer go to college or go to high school. It was just they bombed them back to the Stone Age, basically, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you have to remember, Iran is not like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and a lot of those places. They've been highly educated people for a long time. So that's the way I see it.
What's the status of Pickaxe Mountain? Did we ever shut the doors on that place?
Don't have a clue. Nobody has said a word about any of those things.
Interesting.
Hello, Not. Hello, Not. I'm sorry. Is it not today? Hello, Not today.
Got on the bus?
Hello, Not today. You realize you're on a live? Not today, not tomorrow.
Okay.
Hello, Not today.
Not you.
Hello, Not today.
You need to eat. Call Mr. Bus.
Should we listen to his personal conversation?
Hello,
Not today. No? We shouldn't? Okay. Not today. Who are you talking to? Not today. See you later.
Oh, sorry, guys. You was in my pocket.
We were listening in on your private conversation there with your daughter.
Oh, that's my wife we were talking about.
Oh, your wife. Okay.
And the kids missing the bus. And the snow.
I'll let you down.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. We were butt dialed, guys. We were butt dialed. Oh, wait, go ahead. Hit us with the latest. You've been researching.
Awake is asleep.
Yes, we hope
No,
she's been
she's not
researching.
asleep. She's not asleep. She's maybe she's away from her area. I am trying. Awake. She's not there. Did she say she was going somewhere, Charlie, that I didn't hear?
I didn't hear her. No.
No? Okay.
I'm trying to get ready for the doctor. The doctor. I have to go to the doctor.
Okay. Are you feeling better today? Are you feeling better today?
I'm feeling a little bit better, but I have to go get some stuff done, and so I just had to go down there because I got to drive all the way to Fayetteville, and it's pouring down rain.
Oh,
That's better than the 3 inches of snow we've got here. So.
There you go.
No school today. Might even have to get the snowblower out.
I don't know where Awake went to. She's up there somewhere though. Okay. The Democrats. My news story says the Democratic Party is publicly divided. Some leaders condemn Trump for bypassing Congress. Does everybody on here know? Did we need to notify Congress in any way, shape?
Do what they want. We do know that Jeffrey had financial and social relationships with certain figures, including Ehud Barak, that he invested in Israeli tech companies, and that Ghislaine Maxwell's father had confirmed Mossad connections. Epstein cultivated relationships with political and intelligence-connected individuals globally. What's not been proven, but has been alleged, specific connections to the Mossad. Epstein was operating a blackmail operation on behalf of Israel, and that Epstein was formally affiliated with any intelligence agencies. Again, we've got all the data that says that. I know the YouTube. We'll fix the YouTube. We'll get there, guys. Everybody hang tight. Actually, I don't want to end the stream, but hang tight. We'll get there. That's what happens when tech goes down. Okay, we're good. All right. Multiple investigations include the FBI, the DOJ, Maxwell trial. None have produced formal evidence establishing him as an intelligence operator other than what we can see. We do know that, yes, it was confirmed that he has Israeli political figures tied to his connection to the E-files, that he was invested, that the Maxwell's family had Mossad connections, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you think about everybody that's in play, all of the names that we know, all of the people that have got history with him, all the lies that have been told, all the rumors that turned into truth, the lies connected to people in his cabinet. I believe that he and Vladimir Putin are the puppet masters. I believe they've got the goods. They know how deep this goes. They know they've got him dead to rights, and they are going to use it to get exactly what they want. The reason that the United States military struck Iran is because he told them to. And then I'll go back to what I read to you guys before. Remember, there was this email between Tom Pritzker and J.E. dated Monday, August the 29th, 2016. The commentary involved three people. Churkin, who was Russian intelligence, Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, and Tom Barrack, who was connected to the Trump campaign in 2016. Okay? Again, this is the thread. Do you have any questions? Questions you would like to pose in advance for your absence as far as this meeting goes? I don't recall. Do you know Tom Barrack well? The response from Tom Pritzker to J.E., I don't know him well, but here are the questions. Erdogan, his goal is to consolidate, Erdogan, the president of Turkey, his goal is to consolidate power. Will he use nationalism or Islamism as his rallying cry within Turkey? Again, the date of this is Monday, August the 29th, 2016. Okay? 2 months before the election. Syria. What are Russia's interests in Syria? Iran. Will a nuclear deal hold or will it break down? White House. How close will race need to be for Russians to give us an October surprise? Which of Hillary's emails was most entertaining? These are unelected bureaucrats directly involved in an American election and in American foreign policy. To whose benefit? This guy. Coming from which government? His. Connected to whom? Vladimir Putin in Russia. Okay, you don't like that? Sorry. Anybody want to challenge that? Russia, are you listening? Global intelligence services? Don't forget about that infamous Helsinki meeting. Did Russia interfere in our elections? Hang on. I'm going to play this for you again. This is July 17th, 2018.
It was one of the most extraordinary moments between an American president and a Russian leader.
I want you to, now that we've learned more since then, now that we've learned more about the connections, now that we've learned more about the potential influence of intelligence agencies on Trump, now that we've learned about this honeypot operation, now that we've learned all these things, and how deep it connects to global figures, especially those in leadership, right, around the world, I want you to listen to this story with a different set of ears.
Their meeting framed by Friday's Justice Department indictment of 12 Russian agents for election meddling and the judgment of U.S. intelligence agencies, including Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats, that Russia interfered. President Trump asked, who do you believe, President Putin or the U.S. intelligence community? His answer?
People came to me, Dan Coats came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
And the president complimenting an offer from Putin.
Once again, what you just heard from the President of the United States. Okay? Global intelligence services. His own intelligence services, global intelligence around the world. Everybody said the same thing. Russia interfered in the 2016 election. Before I play the rest of that, just to go back to that email once again. White House, how close will the race need to be for Russians to give us an October surprise? Which of Hillary's emails was most entertaining? This is an email that is in the Epstein files. Okay? All right. Back to this. I'm going to back up a little bit.
Intelligence community. His answer?
People came to me, Dan Coats came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
President Putin told him that it wasn't Russia. I've used this analogy before. That would be like the coyote standing outside of the chicken coop saying, everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Totally good.
And the president complimenting an offer from Putin. Instead of turning over the indicted Russian agents, Russian officials would question the agents themselves, with special counsel Bob Mueller present.
I have great confidence in my intelligence people.
You do?
But I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer.
Does that give you new perspective a little bit on things? Now knowing what we know, now having the information from the e-files and knowing all these connections that we didn't know exist. This was July 17, 2018, before Epstein took his own life. Yeah, I know the Mueller report confirmed it, in fact. So all the people that were indicted and their connections to indicted and jailed and eventually pardoned, right? Paul Manafort taking notes from Russian spies. Mike Flynn, etc. Does this give you new perspective on this whole thing? I'm going to back up again. I'm just going to play from the beginning. I'll shut up so you can hear the whole thing.
Most extraordinary moments between an American president and a Russian leader. Their meeting framed by Friday's Justice Department indictment of 12 Russian agents for election meddling and the judgment of U.S. intelligence agencies, including Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats, that Russia interfered. President Trump asked, who do you believe, President Putin or the U.S. intelligence community? His answer?
People came to me, Dan Coats came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
And the president complimenting an offer from Putin. Instead of turning over the indicted Russian agents, Russian officials would question the agents themselves, with special counsel Bob Mueller present.
I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer.
Tonight, the president's own intelligence chief, Dan Coats, shot back with a rare rebuke. We have been clear in our assessment of Russian meddling in the 2016 election, and we will continue to provide unvarnished and objective intelligence in support of our national security. Critics like former Obama CIA Director John Brennan unleashing.
It's something that is a disgrace and that all Americans should be ashamed of.
And don't forget, John Brennan was one of the many names of people that the president wanted indicted. Why, I wonder?
That performance of somebody who holds the title of President of the United States.
Election meddling among the flashpoints that have helped sink U.S.-Russia relations. Others include Russia's illegal occupation of Crimea and its backing of a Syrian regime that used chemical weapons. But this morning, President Trump blaming tensions on the U.S. and the Mueller investigation. Tweeting, our relationship with Russia has never been worse thanks to many years of U.S. foolishness and stupidity. And now, the rigged witch hunt.
That quote again. This is the president saying this. Our relationship with Russia has never been worse thanks to many years of U.S. foolishness and stupidity, and now the rigged witch hunt. Hey, Vlad, did you see what I posted? Very good boy, Donald. Remember, Donald, I have not only pee-pee tape, but I've got everything on you. I know you've been very bad man. I know you and Jeffrey working together to brutalize girls. I have you. You will do whatever I tell you to do. Are we clear? That's what it feels like.
Today asked, does he think Putin bears any responsibility?
Yes, I do. I hold both countries responsible. I think that the United States has been foolish. I think that the probe is a disaster for our country. I think it's kept us apart. It's kept us separated.
So looking into Russian interference was a disaster for our country? Really? Looking into Russian interference in our elections was a disaster to our country. And don't you find it interesting, friends, that the people that were looking into it were just, I don't know, removed from the FBI, indicted, threatened, investigated? Why do you think that would be, I wonder?
There was no collusion at all. Everybody knows it. People are being brought out to the fore. So far that I know, virtually none of it related to the campaign. And they're going to have to try really hard to find somebody that did relate to the campaign.
Oh, you mean like the email that I found that I read earlier? White House, how close will the race need to be for Russians to give us an October surprise? Which of Hillary's emails was most entertaining? You mean that connection to the campaign? You're busted, you fucking traitor.
It was a clean campaign. I beat Hillary Clinton easily, and frankly, we beat her.
Putin revealing for the first time who he wanted to win.
President Putin, did you want President Trump to win the election?
Wait for it.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the Russian relationship back to normal, Putin said.
Was there anything behind it, or was he just being honest at that moment?
I think he was being honest, and I think he wants to cooperate with Trump. I think Trump is somebody that he thinks will do a lot of good for Russia. Whether this relationship will do a lot of good for America is a different question.
Those 4 hours inside Helsinki's presidential palace, A sharp 180 from President Trump's tense.
Again, the American president back in 2018 paying aides right after, what's his name? Kilniak. They turned the cameras off, the microphones off. Basically saying, listen, our relationship with Russia is more important than our relationship with NATO. And where do we sit right now, friends? Where do we sit? We sit with the Board of Peace, which is intended to replace NATO. Who benefits from Russia from the U.S. not being connected to NATO? Who benefits from that? Thank you. Who benefits from that? We already know who that is. That's Putin specifically. Our president is compromised, and there is absolutely no doubt in my mind, none. He is compromised. And I think it's deeper than any of us will ever go. I think we are only scratching the surface of how deeply he's compromised. Here's the rest of the interview.
But Putin tonight dismissing suspicions that Russia has compromising information on the president.
Does the Russian government have any compromising material on President Trump or his family?
I did hear this rumor, he said. It is hard to imagine nonsense on a bigger scale than this.
And I have to say, if they had it, it would have been out long ago.
We only have their accounts of what happened because President Trump and Putin spoke for more than 2 hours behind closed doors with just translators in the room. President Trump says there is the possibility of future meetings, and he's hopeful for progress on nuclear proliferation, among other issues.
So keep this in mind again, just going back to that sound, right? President Trump at the time, right, 2018, said that Vlad told him that we didn't interfere. No, it wasn't us. We didn't interfere in the election when we know they did. He took Putin's word for it. And then when Putin said, "Oh, I don't have any compromising information on the president," really? So that goes back to the e-files. The connections that Jeffrey has to Israeli intelligence. You heard Alan Dershowitz say it himself. I could have gotten you off if I'd have known you were an agent of Mossad. Yeah. Right? I mean, how many more connect? This is what you do in an investigation. You pull on all these threads. No one is sitting up here saying that he's guilty. I'm sitting up here saying is that he's compromised, because there's no doubt he's compromised. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. I mean, we've got financial transactions. We've got real estate investments into Trump era properties that were never occupied. We've got fucking money laundering. We've got money laundering with Howard Nutlick and Epstein and Ehud Barak, and using his apartment in D.C., in Manhattan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Who benefits from NATO going bye-bye? That would be Vlad. Who benefits from Iran being incapacitated? That would be this guy. Who are the two individuals that have probably the most amount of compromising information on the president? That would be Vlad and this guy. Am I wrong? Maybe. That's why there needs to be investigation, and that's why at day 73 of the federal government, our taxpayer dollars, the federal government breaking the law to do what? Protect a global cabal of predators that were preying on girls and boys. Those people are being protected by some of the most powerful men in the world because this guy is directly involved and they fucking know it and he fucking knows it. By the way, estimates are that our military actions that we're taking right now are going to cost us $1 billion a day, all in. The estimates are a month, 4 weeks is what the president said. So $28 billion. I was curious what $28 billion and how that would impact the American healthcare system. Your taxpayer dollars, right? $28 billion would impact the American healthcare system, depends on where it's applied. $5 billion, roughly speaking, we spend $5 trillion a year on healthcare in America. Lovely. $28 billion would cover millions of people. The average annual Medicaid cost per enrollee is between $8,000 and $9,000 per year. $28 billion would cover 4 million people for a year. If we used it for the ACA subsidies, it would substantially reduce premiums for middle class income families like me. Could prevent large premium spikes nationally. The Inflation Reduction Act capped insulin at $35 a month for Medicare seniors. $28 billion would extend similar caps to privately insured patients, younger diabetics, or offset broader drug price reductions. This would affect millions of Americans with chronic conditions. Over 600 rural hospitals are considered financially vulnerable, and many due directly to the One Big Beautiful Bill. $28 billion could fully stabilize the struggling rural hospitals for years, could prevent dozens, possibly hundreds of closures, and then expand maternity and emergency care access. For rural states, this would be a highly visible and politically significant. Average annual outpatient mental health treatment per patient, between $2,000 and $4,000. $28 billion could fund services for 10 million people annually. Could cap out-of-pocket drug spending nationwide. Could expand dental and vision coverage in Medicare. Could reduce Part B premiums temporarily. $28 billion infusion into Medicare premiums could reduce costs by roughly $150 to $250 per year per senior. $28 billion would not overhaul our system, but we could insure millions more Americans. And once again, we're spending $1 billion a day as a distraction because this guy is in the Epstein files more than anybody else. And he fucking knows that he knows, and he knows that Vlad knows, and they've got the goods. The president of the United States is compromised. Plain and simple. Nobody wants to hear it. Legacy media is not going to talk about it. Nope. I will. They are covering up arguably the biggest scandal in potentially geopolitical history because of how deep it goes. And 555 people so far have lost their lives, including 190 girls and staff at a girls' elementary school in Iran, to keep people who are connected to the Epstein files protected? Okay. So there's some additional reporting here. I can't see that story. Mods, I can't read that story. Looks like, wait a minute, maybe I can read this one. So far, the president has said the biggest surprise has been Iran's attack against Arab countries in the region, including Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE. We were surprised, Trump said. We told them we've got this, and now they want to fight, and they're aggressively fighting. They were going to be very little involved, and now they insist on being involved. Trump has said that the big wave is yet to come in war with Iran. President Trump told CNN in a 9-minute phone interview Monday that the U.S. military is knocking the crap out of Iran, but the big wave is yet to come. Trump supporters, are you sitting in your corner, spanking it, all happy, carrying your fucking flags? How dare you? You fucking know war cucks. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Gas prices are about to spike. The Dow lost like 1,000 points on opening this morning. Why? 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 You have no justification for any of this. You just sit here, right? And I'm like, this is, again, you guys are the smartest chat on TikTok, and there's no denying that. It's not that difficult to put the pieces together. It's really not. You know, I'm just here providing what I speak for myself. I don't speak on behalf of my mods. These are my opinions and my opinions alone. We've got a lot of the facts to back it up. We've got corroborating evidence from what we've been talking about from years that we've got not only in financial transactions identified in the Epstein files, emails, text threads, exchanges, all kinds of people involved. We've got lies being told by the administration. We've got lies being told by cabinet members. We've got lies being told by intelligence people that were apparently, anti-Trump, come to find out they're pro-Trump. We've got Israeli connections to the Mossad. We've got Russian connections. We've got global connections everywhere. It's not that much of a stretch to put the pieces together. But nope. And where the fuck is Congress? Why has he not been impeached? Articles of impeachment should be written right now. He should be removed from office right now. But he won't. Because Republicans are cowards. They are deep in this too because they have staked their entire fucking careers on this now. They are invested in protecting predators. 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121. If you're just finding us here, this is our backup. We got a little hand slap this morning on our main. Please consider following us here. Please consider joining our team here. We appreciate that. If you are just finding us, you ask what this is. We are doing something called the Do Something Tour. I am hitting the road over the course of the spring, summer, and fall to try to reach out to as many voters as possible to try to get people re-engaged, understanding what's at stake. It's going to be a road show. It's going to involve community interaction, listening circles, all kinds of things. This has to be crowdfunded. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so at Factsstillmatter, all at Factsstillmatter on Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo. Let me just briefly thank a few people. Donna, thank you so very, very much. Donna, appreciate you for the tour. Thank you, Donna. Appreciate you. Catherine, thank you very, very much. Dollar Train for the Do Something Tour. Thank you, Catherine. Amy, that's very kind of you, Amy. Thank you for the $100. You're very kind. Thank you so very, very much, Amy. I really appreciate you. That's incredibly kind of you. Appreciate you. Also, to Caitlin for your contribution and to another Amy, you guys are amazing. I appreciate you all very, very much. We're going on the road because we have to hold truth to power. And I want people to be re-engaged because I want people to understand what's happening here. That if people don't step up in this midterm, we are not going to get those in power held accountable at all. Think about why they are trying to nationalize the elections. It's not because of voter fraud. It's not. The SAVE Act does nothing but suppress the vote. Because, again, this is Women's History Month. Queens, I will say this to you. The current government, led by Republicans, are incredibly afraid of you. Give them a reason to be. Show them what it's like to be afraid of the queens. So I'm going to pause there briefly. I want to be focusing on this series that I mentioned you guys I'm going to do. We're going to be highlighting women from history over the course of this month because it is Women's History Month. But I found this creator and she talks about really she highlights communities led by women, countries that are led by women, organizations that are led by women. I want to make sure I get the quote exactly right before I play it for you guys. Hang tight. 1 second. Just give me a minute. Oh, let me play this first. This is even better. as we're approaching the rise of the matriarch, which is what I want. I don't know this gentleman's name. Let me see if I can find it. His name is Christopher Hitchens. Listen to this.
There is only one cure for world poverty that's ever been found or ever will be, and it's very simple. And it can be phrased very simply too. It's called the empowerment of women. Go to Bangladesh or Bolivia. I have to ask you to hold your applause, though I love you. Go to Bangladesh or Bolivia, give women control over their reproductive cycle, throw in a handful of corn if you can, make them not just the beasts of burden and the beasts of childbearing that they become, and the floor will rise, it just will. It never fails anywhere. Against this one solution, the Catholic Church has set its face. The efforts of the missionary church in the third world mean more people die, not less. It's as simple as that. More famine, more disease, more ignorance, more random and avoidable death.
The most powerful weapon against poverty isn't charity, it's empowerment, especially the empowerment of women. When a woman is educated, an entire family becomes educated. When a woman earns, children eat better, study longer, live healthier lives. When women have rights over their bodies, finances, and decisions, poverty stops repeating itself generation after generation. This isn't ideology, it's basic economics. Countries that invest in girls, education, and women's participation in the workplace see lower birth rates, stronger economies, better health outcomes, and more stable societies. Empowering women doesn't favor one gender, it unlocks the potential of humanity. There you go, Ash. Exactly. Trickle up economics. Would any of this be happening right now if women were in leadership? No, it wouldn't. Would American service members have lost their lives if women were in power? No. Would there be an all-out effort to defend global predators if women were in power? Absolutely not. So here we sit, right? Here we sit with this just rampant corruption, violence, just disregard for humanity. To what end? To protect predators. Everybody keep tapping, please. Okay. Sorry. Just as I segue to the next portion of the show that I want to do, this was the president just a few weeks back, considering everything that's happening now.
Anybody in history that should get the Nobel Prize more than me, and I don't want to be bragging, but nobody else settled wars. Obama got the Nobel Prize. He had no idea why. He still has no idea. He walks around, he says, I got the Nobel Prize. Why did he get a Nobel Prize? He got it almost immediately upon attaining office, and he didn't do anything, and he was a bad president. So, I mean, you should get the Nobel Prize for every war you stopped. These were major wars. These were wars that nobody thought could be stopped. President Putin called me and he said about 2 of the wars that he's been trying to stop them for 10 years. He wasn't able to do it. He couldn't believe it. So in theory, you should get the Nobel Prize for every war you stopped.
Trevor, I'm going to post your comment because I think it's fascinating that you're saying that he's the one who's, I couldn't post it for whatever reason, that Trump is the one that's taking down the predators? Do you understand why we tell you that you're in a cult? If you actually think that, it's one of 2 options. You are either trolling or you are so deep in the cult, you can't see the fact that the Trump administration is breaking federal law by not releasing all the files. Okay. All right. I want to find that soundbite because I think it's great. Where is it? Everybody keep tapping, please. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. Okay. I mentioned this before. I like this creator. Her name is Sherry's in abundance, and what she does is she highlights women of history. What she more specifically, hang on a second. Sorry, my bad. Okay, here you go.
Wars. Here's what happened when a woman ended one. We're talking about Lema Bowie, who rallied women across Liberia to end a brutal 14-year civil war. She organized thousands of Christian and Muslim women to protest, pray, and demand peace. Their movement helped force peace talks and led to a 90% drop in conflict violence. She co-won the Nobel Peace Prize and helped elect Africa's first female president. Through her foundation, she's trained thousands of young women as peace builders and leaders. And maybe most powerful, she showed girls that peace isn't given, it's made by women like them. So what if every war room had mothers in it? Would we still be at war? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
What if every war room had mothers in it? Would we still be at war? No, we would not. Not even close.
Hey, sir, how are you?
How are you doing? I'm fine. How are you?
Not bad. It's been a while. I apologize. The last time we talked about the whole comparing Mondani to Harris, I apologize. That was me being or low informed. I apologize.
Cool. So what changed your mind?
What hits my mind today is the fact of the kid. So I'm 29. I got kids that are 7 years or 5, 6 years younger than me talking about how they think they know the situation that occurred this past weekend and just being very misinformed. And I got people who I used to work with who are service members saying, oh, I want to sign up. And then you got other service members like Bernard for Congress, who used to serve in Florida, who used to be in the military, saying this is the dumbest thing, I will never serve. My kids aren't going in because some of his kids are, I believe, are going into age. And same thing with my kid. I mean, he's young as hell, but I would claim some disability for him not even to go in this pointless ass thing. That's number one. Number two, can we talk about the fact that Congressman Gonzalez had an affair with his aide, got her pregnant, she self-deleted herself, and said on TV, hey, I'm not leaving this seat because I'm not trying to lose power. And from what somebody told me and what I've researched, that there's a certain threshold that the Republicans need to have a majority, even though the Democrats are still 4 seats or 3 seats behind. And then it all makes sense. You had 2 weeks ago where the Trump administration basically said, hey, we're going to attack you-know-what, and the Republicans, both House and Senate, saying, yo, if you do that, we'll convict you. Like, we're so sick of your shit, we'll actually convict you. Then, this past week, they said there was chatter between the Izzy and the United States in regards to the bombardment that transpired on Saturday, saying basically saying, hey, make it like you did it first, then we'll back you up. And I'm just like, all right, guys, if you don't see this guy is so stupid. He's telling you his 4 contingency plans to basically steal the midterm elections. Because
we're not going to let him do that, though. We're not going to let him do that.
Oh, 100%. But one of the I was talking to an individual on this app. His name's Hal from New York. I told him we have a chance to take the Senate.
I know we do.
Because right now there's that Planter gentleman that's about an hour and 40 minutes away from me in Maine.
Yeah,
he's
Plattner.
Up by like 10%, and
more than that.
What's his name? Sherrod Brown. I guess Sherrod Brown is leading in Ohio because Ohio is so racist they wouldn't even accept Vex Ramaswamy.
Well, we're gonna see. It's gonna be very interesting. I think Ramaswamy is actually running for governor, if memory serves. But either way, I appreciate you jumping in today, Stanley, and I'm glad appreciate you being honest about your earlier mistakes. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I think the Senate is absolutely in play, no doubt about it. I absolutely think the Senate's in play. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Everybody, keep tapping and sharing, please. Appreciate you guys very much. Good morning, AJ. And there we go. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right, brother. How you doing?
Oh, I'm angry, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm angry. We have the smartest chat in all of TikTok. You know that. The folks who are here regularly know that. So we know that as intelligent Americans, we were lied to much of our lives. We were lied to in our history books. We were lied to by our teachers. We were lied to by our parents. And we were lied to by our politicians about our history, about our standing in the world. And growing up, it didn't make us hate our country, but it made us very disappointed in our country. And I know that's where I am now. I love this country, but I'd love to see it reach its potential that you and I and the folks in our chat, the folks that have some rational thinking, know that it could be, that we could be the good in the world, that the ones that are feeding people and taking care of people and doing the right thing, not doing what we're doing right now, not bombing school children in Iran.
Agreed.
But I want to also say that, folks like myself, I don't want to speak for them, but I'm sure Jen and Obi, would probably feel much of the same way. Jewish American kids like myself, we got it twice over because we were fed the same kind of propaganda about the I country. And throughout my life, I've been a staunch supporter of Israel. And I've met a lot of people from there. There's some amazing, wonderful people that I've met. But, and up till very recently, I defended almost everything they did. I stood up for them. I said, I took their side on things, and I refused to kind of see the other side. And not to say there's not blame on everywhere. We know there is. Okay, that's not the point. But the point was that Israel was supposed to be a shining beacon in that area. It was supposed to lead the world and kind of come together, and it hasn't. We've been fed a false history. We've been fed a lot of lies. And what I'm seeing right now is Israel kind of is a mirror of America. And it's happened a lot faster. Okay, they're at a point, I think they're at the same point we are now, where there's a lot of good people who live there. There's a lot of good that comes out of it, but we're being led by arrogant warlord men that have a lot of self-interest, that like to lie, and that have no regard for the lives of their citizens or the regards of others. They're in it for themselves, and they're in it to protect the people that they can benefit from, and they're in it for their pocketbooks. It's just so demoralizing to know how much we've been lied to over the years. And it's so demoralizing to see where we are now, not just as an American, but as somebody who grew up supporting Israel and sending money every year for trees, and like I said, there's so many amazing people over there. So to kind of mirror what Tony said, remember, folks, it's not all Israelis that are doing this. It's the government. Just like you got to say to other people in the world, hey, most Americans do not support what the hell is going on here. Most Americans didn't vote for what we currently have.
Correct.
It's not an excuse. It doesn't mean that excuses from all the bad things that have happened, but we have to keep the bigger picture in mind and understand where this is coming from. Just what's happening right now is unspeakable and should never have been happening. And we've said it all along. We've said it over and over again. Steve, you've been up here every morning. I don't know how you do it and keep your sanity. You say it every day, and they're just not listening. They're just not listening. And too many Americans are just not listening. We have to open our eyes and see what the hell is going on. Because there is no reason for what's happening there right now to be happening at all. And people are going to die. People are going to die, and you know what? There is never going to be a clear, I'm going to put this in quotes, you can't see my air quotes. There is never going to be a winner in this situation.
Correct.
Okay. World War II, people can argue about all that stuff, but that was battle of nations against each other. You can argue whether there was a winner or loser, whatever. But right now, the way what we're fighting right now, there's not going to be a winner. Let's say that it ends tomorrow. Okay? there are going to be, we have now created another generation of people who hate America.
Correct.
We're creating another generation of Americans who are scarred by war. So there's no clear winner or loser. It's not a football game. Okay, the field goal doesn't win the game. There's no clear winner. Yeah. There's only losers.
I think there's a winner. I think there's a winner, Drew. I think it's the billionaire. I think it's the elite. I think it's the people. I think it's the people that are being protected. They're the military-industrial complex, the machine. I think they're the winners because they're always the winners in a situation.
They always are.
I mean, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. No one wins in war, but the rich will always win.
Yeah, they're always going to win. They always have. Whether it happens over there, somebody's making money off of it. We're paying for these missiles. We're paying for the land. It's like you say all the time. Follow the money. Follow the money. Follow the money. And I'm just more disgusted than ever because I saw it coming. People said I was a fearmonger, whatever. We all saw this coming. This was pretty friggin' obvious. And for those people who didn't vote because they thought that Kamala was going to get us into a war, where are you now? Where are you now? That's all I wanted to say, Steve. I'm just kind of disgusted, and I hope that we can find a way to turn this around. And, like you said, it's all of us just doing something. We can't stop what's happening right now, but we can do something and hopefully influence and make things a little better for my son's generation, for your kids' generation. I don't know.
Well, you're on the right side of history. Never forget that. I appreciate you, friend. You guys try to, as always. I know, man. Talk to you later. Be safe out there.
Take care.
You got it. Take care.
You too. Bye.
All right. So I'm trying to. I'm conflicted because the president is supposed to give a speech at 11 o'clock. I'm conflicted about covering it, to be honest. What do you guys think? Chat. Do you want us to stream it? Just play the audio. I want someone to have to look at his face. I'm conflicted. Yeah, it's part of me doesn't want to. So we're kind of divided. Well, yeah, I don't think I want to. I'm just going to play you an example of propaganda. Okay, so this is this war criminal right here. This is what he had to say about this is propaganda.
Bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran against innocent civilians, you see the difference. The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran to protect civilians.
Yeah, I guess unless you're talking about the school that you took out, BB, you fucking war criminal, you. Yeah, I don't think I'm not going to stream the speech. I'll just report on it tomorrow. Yeah, hospitals and schools. Yeah, I'm not gonna stream the speech. It's not gonna do it. Hang on 1 second. Let me just check something. I understand if you guys want to, find some other channel that's potentially streaming it or watch it yourself. I won't be offended, but I'm not going to stream it. It's just not worth it to me. Why expose you all to any more lies than you get every single day as it is? Okay, let me shift gears a little bit here. I think I've got this covered. The question then becomes about international law in this time. What international law says, this is under the UN Charter, states are prohibited from using unilateral force, which would be unilateral would mean more than one country. Unilateral force except in two cases. One, when authorized by the UN Security Council, or two, in self-defense. The U.S. and Israel did not go to the UN Security Council ahead of Saturday's strikes that leaves self-defense as the only possible justification under international law. That justification in this case, however, falls short when considering the facts. Israel's right to defend itself. Israel contends it would be inadmissible to expect it to wait until Iran is able to launch a nuclear strike before it is allowed to act in self-defense. Bibi has been banging the nuclear threat for decades. It's always been the same. It's always been the same threat in an attempt to justify what he, pressuring Donald Trump, did. International law allows states to use force in anticipatory self-defense when an armed attack is underway. If Iran launches a ballistic missile, Israel does not need to wait for the missile to land to intercept it. Interceptive self-defense, it's referred to as. This would be lawful anticipatory self-defense, but anticipatory self-defense does not permit either preemptive and or preventative strikes. So it's in violation of international law. I worry that this just becomes normalized, to be honest. So I'm going to play a little game with our friends on the right for just a moment here. Let me just get this to load. Okay. So just so we're clear on a couple things. If you are still MAGA and you're in here, I just have some questions for you. You've decided that these things are not deal breakers. Trump bragging about grabbing women by the pussy. Trump mocking people with disabilities. Trump being convicted of 34 felonies. Trump inciting the January 6th insurrection. Trump pardoning the January 6th offenders. Trump ignoring court orders. Trump bombing Iran without congressional approval. Trump bombing Venezuela and kidnapping their president without congressional approval. Trump attempting to cover up the Epstein files. Trump calling the Epstein files a hoax. Trump attempting to have his name scrubbed from the Epstein files. Trump being named thousands of times in the Epstein files. Trump getting the DOJ to refuse to release the Epstein files. Trump doing away with due process. Trump allowing ICE to unalive innocent people. Trump allowing ICE to kidnap innocent children. Trump alienating all of our allies. Trump already being impeached twice. And Trump turning the National Guard against Americans. That's a list that I just put together off the top of my head. They're all facts, though. Hey, Jay, question for you. Do you want to defend this? Do you want to defend it? Do you still want to say that it's not a war when the president himself has said, shit, I just got a flag. Guys, I think I should probably end the live because I don't know about the status of the first one. I hate to do this to everybody early, but I want to keep the live up. So I'm going to end. I'm sad to do that, but I'm going to end now. We'll come back tomorrow morning, hopefully on the main, if not on the
Wherever you park your vehicle at night. These are an excellent investment, guys. Legend! Congratulations, Legend. I see you just made the purchase. Should arrive in about 2 to 3 business days. Once it does, come back to the live and let me know how